Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. We are a couple hours away from the press briefing at the White House with White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. We always look forward to those press briefings. We really hear the direction of the day for the president, but also we hear about future programming or future logistics and travel for President Trump, including tomorrow when he goes to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as it will be Rally Day in America. We look forward to that coverage, of course. RSBN host Megan Kohler will be there live and, of course, interviewing people outside the venue. So it'll be great to hear from we the people, all of us, the everyday Americans out there that are proud to have a commander-in-chief that has us on his mind, us on his heart, and also many of the cabinet members. I mean, everyone really America first and really doing a great job out there. There are some things that we still want to see, but it's only, 4 months into the administration. So looking forward to more wins, more accomplishments, and making America great again and even better than ever before. So all that live coverage coming up today. We also have a number of live interviews lined up. I also interviewed the Texas Congressman Keith Self yesterday, so we'll have that interview. Christina Loren will join us again today. And then also TS Dixon, the conservative analyst and author, will join us here shortly as we get ready to see this live press conference at 1 o'clock today. In the meantime, all of this brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN is the website to go to. You can save upwards of 20% by just simply using the RSBN20 promo code. You get 20% off ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, other essential medications, including antibiotics. So you're looking at a great deal there. This always is good because it's RSBN 20. You get that 20% off. There are medical kits that you can order. You can order in bulk, or if you just want, say you want some penicillin or amoxicillin for some pain that you're having, you go through the doctors and the pharmacists right there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, an awesome sponsor here at the network. We have many more to get to throughout the next couple hours, but really looking forward to some live interviews today. Also, we have some videos we'll be talking to when it comes to the Customs Border Protection. Yesterday, celebrating 101 years, their anniversary just yesterday. And then also we'll get to an SNL style skit that I think that the White House just did because, well, we'll just show it to you in a little bit. It looks very similar to how SNL does things. So it's like a comedic jab back to Saturday Night Live. In the meantime, while we wait for this White House press briefing and many interviews to come, let's go to TS Dixon, conservative analyst and author, who joins us live right now. Sir, thank you again for joining us on Right Side.
Hey, Matt, good to be here.
Could you talk to us about some of the accomplishments that you've seen over the past, it's exactly 129 days that we've seen President Trump in office. What are some of the highlights that you've seen?
Oh, it's incredible. It's like a conservative dream come true. It really is like a conservative golden era with the closed border, the work of DOGE, exposing much of the financial waste, abuse, and fraud, the executive orders, just totally dampening the woke movement. You see a revitalization of the military, the mass firings and ejections of infiltrators, of liberal activists throughout leadership in the federal government, him and J.D. Vance calling Europe to task, the incredible peace movement just look at how they quelled the massive conflict between India and Pakistan recently. You see no movement on the Taiwan-China conflict that's been boiling over, the last few years under Biden. We see tremendous efforts of peace between Iran and Israel. And then the continued effort between the most difficult conflict that we're now trying to quell, which is Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, but those are just a few of the many accomplishments.
Yeah, there's so many out there. Just as a citizen yourself, sir, what is it like to be able to be like, hey, I'm raising my family along with we the people across this country under a government, under a commander-in-chief that really has our heart and our interests in mind?
It's an incredible testimony and incredible amount of evidence that the system the founders built works so well. Just a few years ago, conservatives, Christians, Catholics, practicing Jews, we were being persecuted by the hard leftist, secular Darwinist, radical Democrats and the various institutions that they control along with the globalist order, and the mass persecution, silencing, censoring, imprisonment, arrests, FBI raids, these abuses of justice by our federal government just a few years ago against good American people while they flooded our country with illegals and criminals and let murderers walk free on the streets, punishing people that would try to step in the way and protect people from murderers. It's just a 180 turn, and that's only thanks to our system of government given to us by the founders that allow us to throw off a bad government and institute a new one through our election process.
Perfectly said. And then what we do is we have a president that is the outsider instead of being a part of the establishment. Can you talk to us about how important it is for not only this country, but for any country across the earth to have that type of person that has the will of the people at mind and heart?
Yeah, we're really facing off with the third great establishment battle in Western history. The first was the medieval Catholic papacy that was thrown off in the 1500s. And then you had the emergence of the British Empire and the Bank of England and the East India Tea Company that really became the new establishment. And they were thrown off at the end of the 1700s through the Revolutionary War. And then from that time, we've seen the emergence of sort of this behind the scenes, behind the curtains, massive central banking power that is sort of pulling the strings of all of these radical, liberal, and leftist organizations, institutions, and corrupting Western civilization. And so we're at the moment in time where Trump and other Western leaders are leading the populist resurgence and movement to now throw off this ultimate new establishment, this corporate and central banking power and these elites. And so that's the conflict we're actually in right now. That's what he's been up against. That's who's been attacking him, trying to kill him, trying to steal elections from him, impeach him, through the apparatus of the Democrat Party and the various media institutions. Yep.
That's perfectly said, especially with the mainstream media just being that extension of the root of all of this, which, I believe is, it's the good versus evil. It's God versus Satan. I really believe that. That's what's happening at the base of everything. But to your point, though, moving forward, as we see more and more of the corruption being exposed, what are your thoughts about the cabinet leaders that we have right now that are getting rid of the corruption in different departments? And I remember reading something of yours actually talking about the new conservative kind of agenda. So can you talk to us about your assessment on that?
Yeah, I would give each cabinet pick. I mean, these are the best cabinet picks we've probably ever had since the Revolution, since the administration of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, that era of real Americans, real populists trying to do the right thing and hearkening back to the true values of our founding of our country. And so Tulsi Gabbard's incredible. RFK Jr., I'd give him like a triple A. I think J.D. Vance has been fantastic. But the most important of these appointments is, and the most important part to make our reform here of this government permanent, is the justice system, which starts at the DOJ, the Attorney General, and goes down to the FBI and the various law enforcement agencies and those U.S. attorneys. And so that group is really struggling. It's the most corrupt part of the bureaucracy. And the enemy, our opponents, they understand that that's the most important part of Trump's White House government, right? The executive branch. That's the most important part. If they can't stop him on all these other fronts, they absolutely must stop him at all costs from fully reforming the justice system in the Department of Justice. Because if he fully reforms that system and fully gets power over it, as he did over the Republican Party, as he has over the White House and these other parts where he's come in, gotten 15, 20, 30% control, and then up to 80, 90% control, which is where he's at with the Republican Party, he needs to get that 80, 90% control of the DOJ. I'd say right now he's got about 12% control over the DOJ and the FBI. The rest is being run by the bureaucracy, many of them infiltrators, still radical leftists, and they oppose him and are trying to sabotage and thwart him and his appointees, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. If those three cannot get the job done or make significant progress in the near term, the next few weeks or months, he needs to consider replacing them with stronger figures that can get the job done, like a Ken Paxton or other attorney generals like the one that was previously in Missouri that have proven their salt and can handle the attacks. Yeah.
This is some powerful stuff that you just said there, TS Dixon. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is in 28, 29 and the future of this country, that the people that did break the law over the past 4 years, or maybe people that ran the auto pen for Biden, or maybe the people that President Trump talked about on Truth Social the other day, calling a number of people treasonous thugs. I never thought I would hear from a president just straight up saying things about treason. So a lot of people, I mean, we're touching something very truthful here, TS Dixon, because what we see on the chats on Rumble, on YouTube, and just all around the country on social media, from people that are we the people, they're saying, hey, there has to be more of this law and order and justice being served to really preserve our nation and to see the reform of America, because all the other things that we see are awesome and great, to your point. But I think a lot of people may agree with you on the point you just made there. So let's shift gears now of the accomplishments we just talked about, some of the things that are needed. Let's talk about how important, simple, a rally is for the American people. I mean, tomorrow in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the U.S. Steel plant, President Trump will be there. It'll be rally day in this country. Your thoughts just about that when we the people get to see their president and hear from him?
Yeah, I think it's important for Trump to continue to energize his base and energize his followers, and also to control the message and the storyline with one that's true. In his last administration, the media was always battling him to control the narrative, keep him on the defense, accuse him of all sorts of false things, and lie about his record. This time around, he's doing a lot of smart things. He's letting alternative media into the press room. He's diminishing the stature and the status of mainstream media. I mean, they are really on their last breath here. It's amazing how much credibility they have lost in the sight of the public. And then he is continuing to communicate with pressers and different events. I think he should continue to do these rallies, continue to bring home the message of his agenda, his accomplishments, and the next items on his list. And then also, I think what Trump really needs to do is he needs to narrow down his focus now to two primary goals. I know we need peace, we need these other things that he has his team working on, but he really needs to narrow down, in my opinion, on going after government corruption and rooting out corruption and punishing it legally. And the second one is balancing the budget and bringing us into a fiscal responsibility as a country. These are the two most important issues now on it that should be on his agenda. And I really feel he needs to take his communication up to another level. What we see when he's sitting there with these presidents and prime ministers, like he did with the South African prime minister, and then also with Zelensky, where he's then exposing to the world through these controversies, the ills and the evils of these men. He needs to continue to do that. But I think Trump should also go harken back to some practices of some of our previous presidents and start maybe doing a weekly fireside chat where like he did before, he has articles, he has evidence that's vetted, and he's presenting evidence to the people, to the country, about government corruption, waste, abuse, and fraud of spending, and then how he is going to correct that spending. And we really need to see that. Doge did a great job, but then I feel like there were some sacred cows that Doge was really not allowed to chop the fat off of, like the military, like the Federal Reserve Bank. I want to see those records and those audits.
TS Dixon, where can people follow you? Any website or anything you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, they can find me at tsdixon.com, and they can also find my book on Amazon, The Woke Mind Viruses.
TS Dixon, thank you for your insight, conservative analyst and author. Thanks again for what you're doing for this country, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so 11:14 this morning, Thursday, May 29th, a very serious chat right off the top here as we just started our broadcast at 11 this morning. We're getting ready, of course, for the press briefing a bit later at the White House. Some great truthful points right there from TS Dixon. Speaking of truthful points, RSBN host Christina Loren is up next in the bullpen. She'll be coming out and sharing some of her thoughts about the Golden Dome for America, and also the big, beautiful bill, and also tomorrow, of course, the huge rally where RSBN host Megan Kohler will be live in Pittsburgh. So we're really looking forward to that coverage, of course, for tomorrow. Also, I interviewed the congressman out of Texas, Keith Self. We'll throw to that interview here shortly. Before we get to some more interviews and some more videos and news of the day, let's go to Colonial Metals Group, a great sponsor here at Right Side. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You'll get a free info kit on gold and silver. You'll learn all about how to protect your savings and your retirement through gold and silver, 401k, IRA, tax sheltered IRA. You can also go to that QR code right there, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Also, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. A lot of products on there, including that miracle cream that you see right there on your screen. Use the RSBN promo code. You'll get a great percentage off. A number of great products to check out. Just go to angelpaste.com for more information and to peruse some of those products. All right, so it's 11:16 this morning. Thursday, May 29th. We are on Rally Day in America Eve, if you want to call it that, as we will be live tomorrow throughout the day. Up until President Trump's speech, we'll have his entire speech and all the pre-program and all of the people that will be in Western Pennsylvania outside the venue. RSBN host Megan Kohler will be there with her commentary and also interviewing a number of us, everyday Americans, we the people. Again, RSBN will always be, from the beginning, remember, a grassroots organization created by a family that said, you know what, President Trump isn't getting the coverage from the mainstream media, so we'll do it. And now look, almost 10 years later, still covering the greatness of President Trump, but also America First, conservative news, common sense angles and reporting, all brought to you by God himself, I believe, and also Rush Limbaugh, President Trump calling out the fake news. Joe Seals, our great founder, Mama Seals, Bridget Seals, and our president and COO, Grace Saldana. All of us here, everybody behind the scenes, everybody on camera or whatever, you know, we're all doing this for we the people and for truth and for freedom and for the Constitution of this United States. And we want to give you the solution to the corrupted media establishment. So RSBN is that for you. So are all of us in conservative media, as there are outlets and there are podcasts and influencers and people like Tucker Carlson. I mean, so many people that are doing so great for our country. Speaking of that, that is one of our people that we can talk to right now is RSBN host Christina Loren, also doing great things for our country. Just the fact that you are in Nashville, Tennessee, and you have positive things to say about our country, and you're not this woke mainstream reporter that tries to spin everything against the truth, is just what an accomplishment, Christina, when you used to work in mainstream, so did I. Thank God for conservative media now, but just your thoughts about, I guess, all of that.
Well, it's interesting. You know, if I would have stayed and pretended that I don't care about this country, you know, in order to receive that big paycheck every single 2 weeks, I don't know that I'd ever forgive myself. And so it's one of those things where, yeah, it was a sacrifice to leave. I mean, I was in Miami and I was in San Francisco. San Francisco, as you can imagine, was a bit difficult with a completely liberal newsroom. Nobody wanted to hear my opinions. I was constantly shot down. And, you know, you make a big sacrifice when you put your neck out for President Trump. That's always been the case. Now, more and more, it's becoming commonplace and we're seeing a lot more people do it. But still, the haters are out there and they are mean. And the Democratic Party, which is typically supposed to be the social justice party, they're the ones who come at you with the worst, most horrible comments and things to say if you support Donald Trump. Something that's interesting, they wanted to change the name of the Nashville airport to the Donald Trump Airport. They were choosing between Donald Trump and Dolly Parton. And, you know, I voiced my opinion online. I let everybody know, yes, let's call it the Donald Trump International Airport. And boy, I took so much heat just for sharing that. I think that it's a good idea. I think that eventually schools will be named after him, airports will be named after him, but it's going to take some time for people to really see the difference that he's making.
I wish I could have the skills and the knowledge of how to etch his face into Mount Rushmore.
I mean, maybe they'll finish Mount Rushmore as well. They didn't finish the busts of the presidents that were etched in stone. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of room for improvement. for Donald Trump's face to be there. And, after this big, beautiful bill that he was able to pass it through the House because he's been so persistent. That's a huge feat, but now the Senate is a bit of a challenge as well. Once that starts to deliver, once we start to see the changes, the positive economic turns that this country needs to take based on this legislation, I think a lot more people are going to be turning around and realizing, hey, President Trump was right. Just like with the border wall, so many people attacked him for wanting to put up a border wall. Now, in this legislation, it's included that the border wall will be completed.
Isn't it interesting that the majority of the country, we know a huge majority, voted for President Trump over the past 3 elections? On top of that, it's only the mainstream media megaphone that makes it seem like there's so many people out there that are against President Trump, when in fact, that's just not true.
You're right. And it's the megaphone, and it's the people who want to impose their opinion and their beliefs on you. And so they're the ones who get really nasty, especially on social media. Social media offers everybody a platform to hide behind a screen and say whatever they want to say to you with, hiding their identity. And so I feel like that's what makes it even more pronounced as well, is that we have to deal with these people who aren't very open about who they really are, coming out and saying terrible things. And again, pretending to represent the social justice party. So it's a very interesting turn in this country, the way things are playing out right now.
Exactly. And what I hope for all the people that maybe are the keyboard warriors of the left, or people that actually do go out there and, do the protests against Tesla, that kind of thing, illegal acts in some cases, the people that protest and say they're for Hamas, at college campuses. What I would say to all of those people is, we are open to you having your mind changed and your heart changed and being saved by Jesus, or having faith in God, Jewish, Christian faith in the Holy Bible. I mean, this is something, obviously, Christina, you won't hear on mainstream media, but the majority of this country believes everything that I just said, right?
It's true, because the one thing that every single human on this planet has in common is we're all going to die. And where your spirit goes after this, we're spiritual beings. It's just the way that we were made. We were made in the image of God. And so there's always this longing to get closer to God, this feeling of there's got to be more than this. That is the one thing that we have in common. So many people want to deny it. They want to turn to science for answers. They want to trust that the human mind can understand so many things that we will never be capable of understanding, because God is so much greater than us. But I don't know, really. I mean, you could go into religion and, there's a theory of election. There's all kinds of theories out there. The truth of the matter is, though, we are all spiritual beings. Our soul will live on after this particular lifetime. And I want to go to heaven. I want to be with Jesus. And I think maybe some people have done some things in their life that they can't forgive themselves for. Who knows what the background is? Every individual is different, and they have their different reasons for choosing to believe or not to believe. But those of us who have accepted God have accepted the fact that we have been forgiven. And I think that's a hard part of Christianity. But President Trump knows that he's been forgiven. And the Republican Party knows that we've been forgiven. We've made mistakes because we're not perfect. But there is a God who loves us no matter what, and sees every part of us, knows every single thing we've ever done, and loves us and forgives us no matter what. I think it's hard for some people to truly understand that, and I think a lot of those people are Democrats, sadly.
Yeah, and people, whether Republican, Democrat, or indifferent, at the end of the day, if you seek or want to find God, you will by seeking Him. I mean, it's biblical, and I tried it, and it's real. So go ahead and try it. For those of you out there that might be like, oh, there's no God. Well, just try it and see what happens if you want to try it. Anyway, let's shift gears. So we're talking about the big, beautiful bill. We talked about faith there, of course. Freedom of religion. Thank God for that. We also, let's talk about the Golden Dome for America. How awesome will that be for our country?
I think it's amazing, and I wish that there was more in-depth mainstream coverage on it, because this is space-aged technology. Essentially, what the Golden Dome is going to do is monitor the entire globe with a sophisticated satellite system. And so, especially to protect us from nuclear threats, once a missile is launched, it will be identified and shot down mid-air. And what's so cool about this technology is it wouldn't even be a bulletproof vest just for the United States. It's something that we could lend to our allies. It's something that we could extend to them, possibly at a price tag, because President Trump is a businessman. But if Europe wants to be protected, we would have the ability to do so with this satellite system. SpaceX is involved. Lockheed Martin is involved. And that's why President Trump lately, just recently in the news, said, hey, Canada, you can pay $61 billion and be protected by the Golden Dome, or you can be the 51st state. Now, Canada has no interest right now under their current leadership in being the 51st state. Mark Carney says, no, we want to stay sovereign, but he's still very interested in taking part in the Golden Dome, because even Canada knows that this threat is real, and it's becoming more and more real every day. There is an axis of evil, a modern day axis of evil, and it's comprised of North Korea, Russia, China. We have to watch out for Iran as well. And so as days go on and their technology gets more sophisticated, the threat becomes more real, not just for us. And President Trump, again, is 5 steps ahead of the game in this Golden Dome technology. And so it's something that I look forward to. He's hoping to have it completed by 2029, January of 2029. So before he leaves office, he wants to get it done. It's supposed to cost about $175 billion. But I think that other countries are going to pay into it, and the private sector as well.
Exactly. So, and that ties in with the big, beautiful bill. That's part of the bill there for the the Golden Dome for America. Also for more Customs Border Protection agents, the wall to be complete, taxes to drop. So many reasons why the Senate should pass that. And then President Trump, of course, would sign that into law. And then we'll see the benefits of all that. And in just a bit, Christina, we're going to play what I think is the White House taking a comedic jab at SNL. I'll show you the video here, maybe after the interview. But anyway, so looking forward to that. Now, we know, Christina, as we've worked in mainstream media and we are working conservative media now, that there's reporting the facts, there's opinion, there's analysis, there's commentary, there's interviews, there's videos, there's all this stuff. This part of it is a big-time op-ed, opinion editorial. I'm going to say something to you I thought about last night, and we're doing this on TV, so why not have fun with it?
I'm
excited. This is just for fun. Do I really believe this is going to happen? No, but hey, it'd be kind of cool. Well, all right, so if we were to have Canada as the 51st state, right, that means we would need a governor of Canada. So maybe President Trump as governor of Canada when he's done being the president of the United States. There you go.
I love it. I love it. I think it's outstanding. And I think that there are a lot of Canadians who would love to be the 51st state. The reason why Mark Carney was elected was because he took this anti-Trump stance. And if it wasn't for Trump, he probably wouldn't even have been elected, because there are a lot of moderate Canadians. But I think that's a fantastic idea. I don't think President Trump is going to step out of office entirely once we get into 2028, 2029. I think he's going to move forward, and we need him. And so I hope that he does stick into politics, because we've never seen anybody like him, and we need him, at least as a strong voice of reason for the Republican Party. I don't know where the Republican Party is going to go after him.
I agree with you. I believe that's most likely what's going to happen, is that he will have that strong voice and still have the rallies and still really be a leader of America. Because think about it. Since 2015, he's been the leader of America. Even over the past 4 years of the fake presidency under Biden, he was still the leader of the free world, even though not technically at the White House. So, but back to that point of Canada, I mean, you have all the provinces there. It's a big swath of land. Governor Trump of Canada in the future. Okay, I'm just kidding. I really am. I just thought about it, thought it'd be funny to bring up. Also, though, speaking of governors, gubernatorial candidate Tommy Tuberville of Alabama just announced his race there. Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio, Byron Donalds in Florida. It would be great to have these powerhouses over these states.
Yeah, because one thing that the Republican Party wants to do is give power back to the states. But when you have people like Gretchen Whitmer in control, when you have people like Tim Walz in control as governors, you see how poorly the leadership is, and you see what it does to the residents. I mean, we saw it with the rioting, how in Minnesota in particular, they just let those riots roll on. And they didn't stop it, and the news, pretended nothing was going on. They said mostly peaceful riots were happening, which was not the case. But we need strong governors. That's the whole idea, is to give control back to the states. But if you have poor leadership in some of these states, Gavin Newsom in California, for example, my home state, you can see the damage that can be done. And it's irreversible in some cases.
It is, and that's why it's great to have these America First, real deal people like Vivek, like Byron Donalds, like Tommy Tuberville. And of course, we already have President Trump at the most powerful position that you can be, President of the United States. RSBN's Christina Loren, thanks again for joining us. Looking forward to rally coverage tomorrow. I know Megan Kohler will be there live. I know you'll be watching. And I also want you to watch the video we're about to play. I believe it is a I'm talking like 2 or 3 percentage points here of a comedic jab at SNL. So hopefully you check that out too.
All right, have a wonderful weekend. See you soon, Matthew.
All right. Thank you, Christina.
Bye-bye.
All right, so it's the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be going to the press briefing in about an hour and a half. We still have a couple of interviews to go and a couple of videos to play. Specifically, let's go to this video from the White House about the big, beautiful bill. And no, you're not watching SNL. This is RSBN, and this is the White House. Take a look.
Legislators on Capitol Hill are currently working to advance President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. With a bill this big and this beautiful, we brought in Kevin Hassett, Director of the National Economic Council and proud owner of 3 pocket calculators, to explain what it means for the IU, the American people. And don't worry, we brought in Karoline Leavitt to translate.
80 million workers in the U.S. are hourly workers who can make overtime if they work more than 40 hours, or sometimes in collective bargaining agreements, it could be overtime could start at 35 or earlier. And it's President Trump's view that when people have that extra income, that they shouldn't face an extra tax liability.
That means no tax on overtime.
It's a little-known fact that the highest marginal tax rate faced by almost anybody in America is a retired person who, when they get their government-funded retirement payment, then they pay a big tax. And the bottom line is that we're going to fix that by creating an expanded standard deduction.
Slashing taxes on Social Security.
It's little appreciated by non-economists that in 1986, we took away the ability for people who were itemizers to itemize interest on their auto loans. The big, beautiful bill is repairing that policy error.
That means no tax on interest for American-made vehicle purchases.
The bill also introduces a universal 401k for individuals that are new to the economy.
In other words, it's a Trump savings account for newborn babies.
Historically, businesses that buy a new factory have to depreciate it over 39 years. That means, for example, if you have $1 million building, you get a $25,641 deduction each year. But what President Trump wants to do is allow people to get the whole deduction in the first year.
Sounds to me like there's never been a better time to build a factory in America.
That video posted on the White House X account just yesterday. Quite cool to see it. And we'll be going to some more videos coming up, specifically about the Customs, Border and Protection 101 year anniversary that just was celebrated yesterday. A great video coming up. It's only about 15 seconds long, but it really gives a highlight of what the great agents do, not only along the southern border, but along the northern border and out there on the open sea, working with the Coast Guard and the Navy to really keep that border closed, also to stop or intercept alien vessels of illegal aliens with narcotics or just people that are up to no good. So there's a whole system going on. It's a southern border mission that, goes 24/7 at this point, and it has been since President Trump so rightly called it a national emergency on the southern border. And then our military is there along with Customs Border Protection and also a lot of law enforcement, the National Guard. It's just a great, great thing that's happening to stop the illegal flow of people. But also we saw the video yesterday from the White House as well with ICE finding illegal aliens and deporting them as well. So, I get the human side of it. I understand the side of, hey, but that's, a family. And well, here's the thing. if you or I travel to any other country, we'd have to have paperwork. We'd have to have a reason why we're there. Just traveling to Canada in the past has been such a pain for some people. You know, the border protection agents there in Canada. And if you didn't have a passport, if you didn't have the right visa or the right reasons why you're going, you're not going to be allowed in. So it's not the family situation. It's more of, hey, if there's a criminal illegal alien, they have to go. If they're a legal alien, they have to go. And simply do it the right way. Nothing against immigrants. Again, my grandpa from Cuba, okay? So like, I have Alvarez as the last name. He was not born in America. Like, I get the immigrant thing, but if you do it legally. So anyway, we already know about that. That's preaching to the choir. Let's go to a couple great sponsors here. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You see that RSBN code there, RSBN20. You're gonna get 20% off. Now, they were at 10% off. They went to 20 after President Trump said, you know what, I'm going to lower the prescription drug prices. And All Family Pharmacy said, well, let's do the same thing. Let's get on top of that. And you'll pay less for prescription medications right there. 20% off ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, essential medications, including antibiotics, amoxicillin, penicillin. There are health kits that you can get, first aid kits, travel kits. Also, you can order in bulk, or just one medication, or 10 if you want. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Our next sponsor, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. If you have any back taxes and we'd like to settle some of those back taxes, you can do so through Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. If you have any questions about how to actually get that done, there's a payment plan. They'll work right there with you. Great patriotic group, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. It's Thursday, May 29th. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'll be right back.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for streaming in as we get ready to see the press conference a bit later. We have a number of interviews to get to as well and other videos. In the meantime, the White House 2 minutes ago on X saying new from the GLFOP saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. So the National Fraternal Order of Police are praising the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So it's up to the Senate now to get that thing passed and to get President Trump to sign it, and then we will hopefully right away see what's in that bill come to fruition, because one of the items of it is a 15% decrease in our taxes for those of us making $30,000 upwards of $80,000 a year. Anybody in that bracket of salary, you'll get 15% less taken out of your paycheck. Always good. There's so many other items that are in that bill, and we're going to look into some quotes from the great Stephen Miller, of course, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. A number of quotes from him. We'll get to that in just a minute, as we have another video I'd like to show you when it comes to Customs, Border, and Protection. Of course, yesterday, just 101 days, our 101 year anniversary of the CBP. Let's take a look at that video. Real quick video, but definitely showing a lot of different spots of the border. I mean, even the snowmobile up there, maybe that was in Vermont, who knows? But the point is, up there in the northern border, when I heard that there were drug cartel working and operating north of our border in Canada as well, I was surprised to hear that. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're seeing our government work to rid anything when it comes to the narcotics coming across the border, but also any illegal aliens. As again, the drug cartel is listed as a terrorist organization. There are huge swaths or states of the cartel, of course, in Mexico. But you know what? Our military is right there at the southern border, so maybe the drug cartel, they might be shaking in their boots at this point. We'll see what happens. But still, though, part of the big, beautiful bill will bring the rest of President Trump's border wall and also an increase in pay and manpower for the southern border. And when I say manpower, you know, I think about, you know, back in the day in mainstream media, don't use words like manpower. It's like, screw that. It's manpower. And women are involved in that too. Who cares? It's like, whatever. But the point is, we're going to see a lot of increases through the big, beautiful bill. Let's go to some of Stephen Miller's quotes from the White House. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff, explaining that the bill's historic cuts to taxes and spending. He says, quote, the big, beautiful bill is not an annual budget bill and does not fund the departments of government. It does not finance our agencies or federal programs. Instead, it includes the single largest welfare reform in American history, along with the largest tax cut and reform in American history, the most aggressive energy exploration in American history, and the strongest border bill in American history, all while reducing the deficit. There's a number of other quotes here from Peter Navarro and also Stephen Miller that we can get to a bit later in the broadcast. But again, the Senate, once they pass that, President Trump signs it, and we're on the way. But our Senate has to do that. So this is our opportunity as we, the people, everyday Americans, just call your senator, be respectful, of course, and just say, hey, this is what I want. And speaking of what I want, or what you want, which is the majority of the country, let's look at a post from Ronnie Jackson, Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson. This is my favorite Truth Social post of the day so far. Now, I believe it happened yesterday, but let's keep that one up for a minute because it's simple. Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges. So anybody that is coming against the president's agenda is coming against we the people. It's simple, right? So also when it comes to the Senate, if you understand that when we're calling and we're asking, okay, can you pass this big, beautiful bill? This is what we want. This is President Trump's agenda. We are following what he was saying on the campaign trail, all these promises to the American people. Well, this is what we voted for. And the same thing with activist judges. If you look at some recent things with trade deals, international trade deals, and you look at specifics when it comes to deportations of criminal illegal aliens, activist judges are trying to, hey, here I am, I'm a judge, I'm gonna take down what the president's trying to do and be a big shot. You're not a big shot. You're not a big shot. If somebody does something illegal, then yes, then you have to do what you have to do. But the respect should be high for the President of the United States. We, the people, voted for him and his agenda. So we see Ronnie Jackson saying it how it is. And if you don't follow Ronnie Jackson on Truth Social or X, please do. He has some great lines all the time. It's just constant. I don't know how he comes up with it. He just keeps going. Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges. You know, we can just end the broadcast here and not even show the press briefing later. I'm kidding. Of course, we're going to show the whole thing, but that line right there from the great Ronnie Jackson, former physician of the president as well. All right, let's go on to a couple sponsors before we move into a few more items here. We have an interview with another Texas representative, Keith Self, coming up in just a bit. But let's go to Kalshi.com. You see the QR code right there on the bottom of your screen. So if you're looking to bet or trade on various things, it could be anything about weather or science, technology, politics, faith, sports, whatever, just go to Kalshi.com. You can bet and trade anything on there with that website. It's an app as well. So Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's shift over to MyPillow.com. Those of you getting ready, hopefully, for the Gulf of America this summer, or the Atlantic Ocean, or the Pacific, or maybe you're traveling to the Caribbean, have some great items from Mike Lindell and MyPillow.com, and use the RSBN promo code. The 50% off, that's pretty good deal right there. So there are more than 2,000 products on MyPillow.com, so check it out, and hopefully order a few things, including the beach sale that you see there, 50% off from MyPillow.com. All right, so it's 11:46, Thursday, May 29th. Let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about, how about tomorrow, Rally Day in America. We're going to have live coverage throughout the day. I believe we're starting at 12 Eastern. The president speaks around 5. RSBN host Megan Kohler is there in Pittsburgh. We're going to have our camera crews there. Of course, always showing the crowd, always showing the people that are there, and also interviewing we the people outside the venue. This is stuff that, you know, the mainstream media, well, they don't want to hear from the average citizen. They're not average citizens, first of all. All of us, we the people, I believe, are rock stars. Why? Because we love freedom, and we love God, and we love America. You're a rock star, and others might want to take fame and be a patriot celebrity and all that. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is we the people and having our way in this country, and we did by voting in President Trump. So we want him to continue to win, continue with the accomplishments. The value of we the people is extremely high because, remember, Abraham Lincoln back in the day in Gettysburg, that Gettysburg Address, he said, "A government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the land." This is what we're talking about even in today's day, 2025, and into the future. And if you missed our interview with the conservative analyst and author TS Dixon at the top of the broadcast, go ahead and replay that a little bit later if you'd like. He had some really good insight from, you know, the founding fathers and what we're doing today. And Donald Trump, of course, being a part of that same group of people. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and then onward to people like Abraham Lincoln. I mean, this is what we're really dealing with here in this country. So that's why tomorrow, Rally Day in America, is an exciting time. Yes, it does stir up the emotion, but still, on the baseline, on the even keel aspect, it's our commander-in-chief, our leader, doing great things for our country, coming out to the U.S. Steel plant in West Mifflin. So a shout out to those of you in Pittsburgh, Western PA. Went to college out that way, Robert Morris University, and I know the area well. So all of the Pittsburgh fans out there, the sports fans, of course, I think tomorrow there'll be some of those Pittsburgh Steeler steel hats. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a construction hat, but it shows the helmet on this side of it. So you never know. We'll see tomorrow. It's going to be a fun day. It'll be a Friday. It'll be a happy Friday. Looking forward to it. So we'll be going there live at 12 o'clock tomorrow. So let your friends and family know if they'd like to watch. And then also President Trump will be speaking at 5 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have all of that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. On top of that, for future programming notes, June 14th, we know it's Flag Day. We also know it's President Trump's birthday. And we also know this time around it's the 250th birthday for our great United States Army. That huge parade that will be in Virginia and Arlington, Virginia. Also the National Mall in D.C., starting at the Pentagon with fireworks to follow. More than 6,000 of our troops, of our soldiers, helicopters, and all sorts of Army vehicles. And it's something to be celebrated. This is a group that's been around since 1775, before even the founding of our nation in 1776. And speaking of that's next July 4th in 2026, where we'll celebrate 250 years of our great nation. So I don't know about you, but I'm really happy to be an American. I really am proud to be an American. I'm so glad to be in this country. So glad to be born here. For some reason, we were born in America, and we can get into a faith topic about why we were born here and not somewhere else or whatever. But what it is simple. Other countries like Hungary with Viktor Orban, or when Jair Bolsonaro was leading Brazil, I mean, other countries that have great leaders that are for the people have the same freedoms as we would. And I think that's great. That's what we want to see more of. Not under the lie or the guise of more war. Remember the warmongers in the past of past administrations saying, oh, we're going to make peace happen and make freedom happen there. And no, you wanted just war to happen. That is completely the opposite of what President Trump's doing, as you guys know. He's always going peace first, peace through strength, working through the deals, the negotiations. Why would he take his time at the Vatican? You remember just last month or a few weeks back at Pope Francis's funeral there. Why would he not waste his time, why would he take his time to speak with Zelensky in that hall? You remember the two chairs there, and he's sat there and he's leaning forward talking to him? He's doing everything he can do. And he's same thing with Putin. Everybody's trying to get this thing to stop. As of right now, it hasn't stopped, but that's up to now Russia and Ukraine, in my opinion, on top of the help of America to say, hey guys, let's figure something out here, come on. We know what happened with Pakistan and India, to TS Dixon's point, the author that I interviewed earlier, that stopped within 24 hours after President Trump started saying things. So anyway, we know what we're dealing with here. We have got a great leader, and we're looking forward to more wins. Again, back to the point. Proud to be an American, happy to be here, happy to have a freedom of religion, happy to be able to say, you know what, my faith, I believe in Jesus Christ of Nazareth. It's okay to say that. It's America. If you say, I don't believe in Jesus, or I believe in this, or I believe in that, it's America. You're allowed to, right? And isn't it great? You can't say those things in other countries. You can't say something against the Chinese president. If I ever was live in Beijing and did a little stream there live in a room of my house and said in Chinese, I don't like Xi Jinping. He's not a good president. Why do we have these social credit scores? You can't do it. I think about the Chinese church, the people that are Christians there persecuted all the time, and all these things that we have around the world. I don't know why it's like that. I mean, I do, but there's leaders that are dictatorial and terrible. But that's why I say I'm proud to be an American. I don't know how I landed this to be here. I don't know how you landed this to be here, but we are here. It's to be celebrated. Rally Day in America tomorrow, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Be there. Watch us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let people know, hey, you know what? The mainstream media, they've been lying to us for years. They don't care about the goodness of God or the goodness of this country or the goodness of we the people. They care about only power and control and money and dominance and all the things that are terrible. They're anti-God. They are simply anti-God. So I don't know why I got on a soapbox there, but I just did. So here we go. 11:53 a.m., Thursday, May 29th. Moving on with a little bit more of the programming schedule here. The president will be in Canada on June 15th to the 17th. Haven't received the logistics yet, but that's for the G7, so he'll be there for that. And we will be covering that live as well. Producer, can you remind me of which sponsor? Let's go to Colonial Metals Group right now. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website to go to. You can always check out the QR code. It'll bring you to the same spot to get that free info kit on gold and silver. It's a tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold and silver. So your retirement, your savings, whether it's all of it or just a little bit of it, if you want to put it into gold and silver, this is a great company to do that with, Colonial Metals Group. Also, let's go to Spring, Texas with angelpaste.com. That's where they're headquartered. They hire military veterans. They have great products as well. Miracle Cream you see on the side of your screen. There's other products that you can check out on angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. You'll get quite the percentage off that website, angelpaste.com. All right, so it's 11:54 Thursday, May 29th. I will have an interview with Representative Keith Self out of Texas coming up after the commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front-row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's 11:58 this morning. Getting ready for the great press briefing coming up in about an hour from now. We also have an interview with Keith Self, the congressman out of Texas, to go to in just a minute. We also are checking out some new posts from the great Ronnie Jackson, the representative of Texas as well. He just keeps cranking them out, and they're really good. So we'll look at those in just a minute. Also, just want to give a shout out to, let's go with 10 states. I think over the next 5 days of live coverage, we'll give a shout out to 10 states. Let's go in alphabetical order and just say thank you for watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's start out with, of course, Alabama. Thank you so much, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, and Georgia. Those of you watching from those states right now, thank you so much for watching right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Your viewership, your loyalty, and also I know you like to see the President of the United States and all of the things going on within the Beltway there in Washington, D.C. and outside the Beltway, like tomorrow in Pittsburgh. for that huge rally. Thank you so much for watching here on Right Side. Also, tomorrow we'll be on with the next 10 states, just giving a shout out to those of you watching in various states across the union. Let's go with the Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson right now with a new post. We didn't have a president. We had radical unelected staffers with an auto pen signing off on America's decline. Another home run from Ronnie Jackson, the representative out of Texas, and of course the former physician for President Trump. Let's go to the older post from earlier in the broadcast. Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges. Amen, Ronnie Jackson. You can follow him on Truth, follow him on X. Just a great poster, just like President Trump and many others out there in the conservative movement, a movement that will always be here to stay. Way past President Trump. He will be still the leader of the free world, even in 28, 29 and onward, because he did what he did over the past 4 years. He was still that guy, right? It was that strong voice, and he'll have that for years to come. Also, he inspired a generation. He inspired conservative media to go into a higher gear. And then also really focusing in, back when Rush Limbaugh was with us, that Medal of Freedom, that Congressional Medal of Freedom for the great Rush Limbaugh. So this aspect of media, conservative media, will be here all the way through to the future, all the way until Jesus returns, in my opinion. So looking forward to it, and glad you're on the right side of history with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And a shout out to all of us in conservative media outlets and podcasters, influencers, everybody that's out there speaking light into darkness and keeping the narrative of common sense and truth based in the Bible and the Constitution of this United States. All right, let's go to the interview with the representative out of Texas, not Ronnie Jackson, but the other one, Keith Self. He's a great congressman there. Let's go to that interview that just happened within the 24/7 news cycle. Joining us now is Texas Congressman Keith Self. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side.
You bet. Glad to be here.
Talk to us about your thoughts about President Trump so far. We're pushing 130 days in office. You guys are really doing a great job too. Talk to us just about what your thoughts are about the president.
Well, the president's doing a great job in spite of the obstacles that the judiciary is throwing in front of him. And I think the people realize it because the poll numbers are actually going up. Rasmussen, I think just today, said that he's back where he was on January 20th, the day he was sworn in. So this is good news.
It definitely is good news, and it's good news to see that you're fighting on behalf of we the people. Specifically, we know that you are the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Europe, talking about election interference in the country of Poland as they are just a few days away from their second round of elections. Can you talk to us about this George Soros and USAID money interfering with that election? I saw you guys wrote a letter to the EU as well.
We did, because the EU is not doing their job. What's happening here is the George Soros Open Society Foundations, through several organizations, have been interfering with several nations' elections. Poland is up on Sunday, and we are very concerned that they will try to do in Poland what they've done in Albania and Romania. So this is interfering with the populist, the pro-democracy parties in in Poland. It is specifically the Law and Justice Party. So those are the ones that they're trying to suppress. And we've written a letter to the EU because the EU ought to be speaking up about this. They ought to be condemning this activity, actually not encouraging it, which they are. They had a EU commissioner who said that, yes, we forced the Romanian constitutional court to overturn an election, and we may have to do the same thing in Germany. That's why we're writing this letter to Poland, because we are very concerned about the suppression of the pro-democracy populist parties in Europe.
Your X post is so perfectly written. It says, when it comes to dark money and election interference, all roads lead to George Soros. The EU should immediately condemn the corruption and election interference taking place in Poland. I love this part too, sir. Reject globalism, embrace true democracy by the will of the people. Can you say any more than that, sir?
Well, I can certainly emphasize it, because that's exactly what the EU ought to be doing. Rather than suppressing the voice of the people, they ought to be encouraging it. This is the tradition, the Western tradition on which Europe and the United States are built. The individual voice, freedom of speech is absolutely crucial. That's why it's in our First Amendment to the Bill of Rights. And I will tell you, this is a critical moment in Europe because they now have 5 countries that the EU has allowed this to go on. And we need to stop it now before it gets to the big country of Germany, which is a vital anchor in Europe.
Exactly. And I'm looking up right now as we speak a post from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, talking about revoking visas for those that are trying to clamp down on free speech, including people from other governments. So it seems as if, obviously, sir, you're right in line with what's going on at the White House, at the Department of State. What's that 30,000-foot view now for we, the people, moving forward, hoping for more victories for our country?
Well, we need to stand firm in Europe, but we've got our own issues here because we know that George Soros is all over the United States getting his left-wing DAs in place. So that's what President Trump is also fighting here, election integrity in the United States. So we need to take a stand in Europe that will then translate to the United States. So I'm all for the tools in the toolbox that President Trump and Marco Rubio have. Let's use what we can.
Exactly. You know, a lot of people have spoken about the Soros money or the George Soros money, but you're really going on the record there to really tackle this issue. So first of all, thank you for doing that. And second, outside of letting the EU know about what's going on with the election interference, what other steps do you think need to be taken within Congress, but also maybe is it the DOJ? I mean, really looking into the corruption of I guess he's allowed to put the money where he wants to, but it's still involved in illegalities, is it not at all?
Well, it is in Europe, absolutely, and in Poland. If you look at what's happened in Poland, the Supreme Court actually in Poland said that they needed to release tens of millions of dollars to the Law and Justice Party that they are withholding. The Electoral Commission over there said the same thing. And the current government is just refusing to abide by it. So this is part of the problem. If you don't abide by the rule of law and you suppress the voices of the people, that's a very dangerous precedent. Poland needs to release that money to the Law and Justice Party. The EU needs to condemn that behavior by the current government, and they need to encourage the voice of the people to be heard on 1 June.
It's awesome, and that's just a couple days away, of course, the second round, because the first round, they didn't know who clearly got the 50% or more than 50%. So here we go to see who the president of Poland will be. Sir, thank you for doing the foreign work there. Back here in the States, we're just celebrating the 101st anniversary of Customs and Border Protection down there along Texas's border, the southern border. Your thoughts about our Customs and Border Protection patrol agents?
First of all, they're doing a magnificent job. The numbers have dropped over 99%. Tom Holman is doing a great job. He is the right man for the job. I'm just so excited about the way they have actually secured the border. If you think back to the election, securing the border was one of the 2 most important issues that people voted on. That was one of the 2 most important issues that got President Trump elected. He has delivered on the promise. Promises made, promises kept.
Also, the president having a rally on Friday, of course, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I want to get your thoughts on that. And then secondly, when you're in your districts there in Texas, can you talk to us about what constituents are talking about? Is everyone kind of like, hey, I'm glad we have a commander-in-chief that's on our side, a representative like you that's on their side? What's the consensus out there?
Well, President Trump's rallies are always an event. They're a destination. They're fabulous. And in my own district, we've got people that are questioning us. They want Congress to do several things. They want us to enact the DOJ cuts. They want us to enact to codify the executive orders. They want to rein in the government spending. So right now, since the border is taken care of, the other major issue, the economy, the spending, the out of control federal government is the issue of the day today.
And then what would you say to your colleagues over there in the Senate as they're looking at the big, beautiful bill and the need for it to be passed?
Well, we've got to pass the tax cuts, but that's only half of the equation. The other half of the equation is we need the spending cuts, we need the savings, because if we only have tax cuts with no significant savings, the deficit and the debt are going to explode. So this is a package deal. Yes, the tax cuts are the crown jewel of this bill, but we've got to have the concomitant spending cuts to go along with it so that we don't drive our $36 trillion to $56 trillion over the next 10 years. The bond market is already kind of queasy on this issue. They don't know that they're going to be paid back because when you sell a bond, when the nation sells a bond, it's basically an IOU. We're going to give you money back at some period of time. If they don't think they're going to be repaid, if they're uncertain about the United States, then they're not going to buy the bonds, and it's the price of servicing the interest is only going to go up.
And finally, Congressman, thank you again for joining us. And if you're joining us right now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, of course, Texas Representative Keith Self joining us. What would you like to say to we the people across the country right now? Any advice, any encouragement moving forward over the next great amount of time that we have the president and in the White House, but still to the future?
Well, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity right now. Control the House, control the Senate, control the presidency. We can use reconciliation at this moment. We've got to get the reconciliation through with tax cuts and spending cuts so that we see the impacts before the midterm elections. We need to take a very strong conservative message into the midterms, show success. The economy is responding. People are feeling like they have money in their pocket because we've left the money in their pocket through the tax cuts. This is vitally important for the midterms. Take a strong conservative message. Give us the opportunity to do that through the reconciliation bill.
Texas Congressman Keith Self. Sir, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you.
Okay, back here live right now, 12 minutes after noon in the East Coast, of course, 9:12 out there on the West Coast. Thanks so much for watching across the country right now. Definitely value your support here and your viewership, of course, here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. In about an hour or so, we'll be live there at the White House in not the Oval Office this time, but the James S. Brady press briefing room, as Karoline Leavitt will be having the press briefing. That's at 1 o'clock. Also happening now is the Great American Road Trip hosted by Sean Duffy, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. We're going to go to that for just a bit. Before we do, All Family Pharmacy, great sponsor, of course, but not only that, great products, because sometimes with a doctor or a pharmacist, you might not get ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or methylene blue. You'll get amoxicillin and penicillin, but then you're going to have to go through the whole waiting process, get an appointment, all that stuff. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN has doctors, they have pharmacists, and they have the medications. More than 200 essential medications right there at All Family Pharmacy. On top of that, antibiotics and a number of first aid kits and also travel kits. You can order in bulk if you'd like. Use that RSBN 20 promo code and you get 20% off. That goes into the end of June. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's shift over to Brightcore, brightcore.com. When you're concerned about maybe gut health or immune support, anti-aging properties, Kimchi One is the product. It's right there on the right side of your screen there. So there's two options. You could go online and save a percentage, the 25%, or if you call, you'll save up to 50% off. 888-722-0936 or visit mybrightcore.com/RSBN. Again, a probiotic, great for gut health. Going there, cleaning up your gut, and also immune support and anti-aging properties. A great, great owner and founder, Kim Bright, who we interview here on the show pretty much every week, it seems. It's great to hear her insight, not only on obviously her product, but making America healthy again and making America great again. All right, so it's 12/14, Thursday, May 29th. Let's go to Washington, D.C., outside of the United States Department of Transportation, where the Secretary, Sean Duffy, is hosting the Great American Road Trip. We'll be right back after a little bit of time here, and we'll be obviously playing the press briefing live in just a few minutes.
All right. Welcome to the Great American Road Trip Expo, first annual. We're going to do this again year over year. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate that the good Lord made the rain stay away after yesterday. So we have cloudy skies, but beautiful weather. Want to take a quick moment. We have a lot of great vendors here, a lot of great food companies here. I don't know if you've been over to see the cars, but we have 19 manufacturers and 40 vehicles, which are really remarkable. They're awesome. And as I was over there earlier today looking at the cars, it's interesting to think back that just 100 years ago, as my microphone cuts out, 100 years ago, Americans were buying Henry Ford's Model Ts, right? And how far we've come in the last 100 years. You look at the technology, we're going to autonomous vehicles, and all the safety features on these vehicles is absolutely remarkable. And by the way, all the vehicles that are over here, all American made, all by American workforces. So that's fantastic. Yeah, it's an awesome part of what we're doing. So just on a quick side note, the president, Donald Trump, has tasked everyone from every department to celebrate America 250. When our birthday's coming up, we're going to celebrate our country. Every department is tasked with figuring out how their department can celebrate our great country. And I might be biased, I don't know, but the Department of Transportation has come up with the best idea of all the departments on how we're going to celebrate America's birthday. Which is, I know, thank you for the scream out there, I appreciate that. It's really exciting. I can tell you're all thrilled by this. It is going to be the Great American Road Trip. By the way, there's nothing more Americana than a road trip, right? And there's no better time to go on a road trip when we have our gas prices that are down, our inflation is down, and American spirits are up. And so to get in the car and see your country. By the way, to love America is to see America. You want to go out there and see. There's so many great things to see in this great country. And I don't know, did any of your parents take you on a road trip? Raise your hand. Yeah. Have any of you taken your kids on a road trip? I'm no different. So we drove all over. I drove to Florida, California, Arizona. One of our trips to Arizona, my mom thought it'd be great that, I think I was 11 at the time, my sister was 8, my brother was 14. She thought we should go to the Grand Canyon, and she thought we should actually hike the Grand Canyon. And so we hiked 10 miles down to Fathom Ranch. But when we got down there, we realized we had to turn around and walk 10 miles back up. It took all day, and at the time, it was horrible, but it's one of the fondest memories I have with my mother, who passed away last year. She was an amazing woman, but she made us do this trip, and it's those kind of great memories that we have on road trips. I've taken my kids to Yellowstone, my 2 boys, a wonderful trip with them. By the way, I went during COVID, so no one was there. It was even better during COVID. But also think all of our kids are on their cell phones and their iPads, and technology pulls our families apart. When you get in the car, and if you can get your kids to put their cell phones away, the kind of conversations you have with your family, with your kids, the kind of information that you pick up, the things that they'll tell you is remarkable. So not only do you see your country, but you also get really great quality time as a family, because the kids can't go to their room. They can't go to the neighbor's house. They got to sit in the car with you and engage in a conversation. So again, this is Americana. And so today I'm excited because we're going to have a big reveal here. So in partnership with America 250, we're unveiling our road trip logo to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. So check this out. Ooh, is that beautiful? There you go. Raucous applause, thank you all. So we have the America 250 pins. If you don't have one, we can get you one. But wouldn't that look good on a trucker hat or like on a shirt? It's a fantastic logo to celebrate our America 250 endeavor here at DOT. And then also, in addition to the logo, we're launching a brand new website to guide Americans on their next road trip. There we go, it's popping up. Look at the tech we have at DOT. We're not just hard hats and vests, high tech here as well. This website was designed by Brand USA, and it's going to steer Americans to 250 destinations in celebration of our nation's 250th birthday. And as our country celebrates the birthday, I do think there's something about freedom in a vehicle. There's something about the freedom of mobility, and there's something very American about it. And so I also think that there's a lot of people around the world that think about American cars and they think about American road trips, and we want to invite the rest of the world, if they're going to come for FIFA's club games, or they're going to come for the World Cup, or they're going to come for the Olympics, come and see sporting events, but then you can also say, I'm going to take a week or 10 days with my family to travel around this great country. Stop at our great restaurants, stay in our wonderful motels or hotels, gas up your car, with great American energy. It's going to be wonderful for our economy. So we're excited about it. And again, all of you helping us push and promote, we will be grateful if you help us do that. And again, it's not just American. We're going to invite our international friends to come and celebrate this great country with us. And so again, I want to extend my gratitude and appreciation for all of you coming out. Again, we have great American manufactured vehicles that are here today. I want to thank all the manufacturers for coming here and participating. Not last, maybe last, but not least, our DOT team is fantastic. Our DOT team is amazing. And again, I'm not competitive with other departments, but we do have the best team as well. So I'm sorry, we have the best 250 project and the best team at DOT. And they did wonderful work to put this together. And so, again, to them, thank you. I'm grateful for that. So we have a little run of a show that we want to give you this morning. And so I want to introduce our next speaker, the president and CEO for the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, John Bozzella. Come on up, John. Do you want this or do you want this here?
Okay, so that was moments ago outside the DOT there in Washington, D.C. Also, I just want to let you know that if you'd like to watch more of that, we will be uploading that as well here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we're getting into the next gear of our live segments, going to the White House there for Karoline Leavitt's press conference that will be happening at the press briefing room at about 1 o'clock Eastern time. So in the meantime, we'll be covering a number of news stories that we see that are happening out there, and also looking at various social media posts, which indirectly is a part of the news cycle these days, as you guys know. So let's go to Tax Network in the meantime, Tax Network USA. 800-357-1415 is the number if you'd like to give them a call to settle any back taxes. You can also go to tnusa.com/RSBN. Another option for you, whether it's online or on the phone, they'll help you settle your back taxes if you have any, and they'll help you out. So Tax Network USA, great company there, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Also MyPillow.com, longtime sponsor as well. If you're looking for a beach trip, maybe going to the Gulf of America or the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific, who knows, or maybe just to the lake, you can always go and get a great item there from the beach sale, 50% off. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Use that promo code RSBN. Thanks again for buying various products that are on this network, because obviously it's helping out a patriotic company, and it's also helping out Right Side Broadcasting Network, who is also a patriotic company, as we deliver as much news as possible, especially live events like today's press conference at the White House, and like tomorrow, Rally Day in America in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, specifically in West Mifflin, where U.S. Steel is based. The president will be there for a rally tomorrow. We will also be there. RSBN host Megan Kohler and our camera crew will be there and interviewing some great people, the people, the everyday Americans right outside of the venue. And then we'll hear from President Trump tomorrow night. So not a bad way to spend a Friday, hearing from the leader of the free world. Also, knowing that his speeches aren't ever boring. That's pretty cool too. You know, it's not like we have, a guy that's, really strong and can get the job done and America first. he does all that, and then he adds a lot of comedy to it too, which makes it very entertaining. So it's really fun to cover, as you guys have seen a lot of his speeches, especially those of you that are loyal viewers since 2015. Holy smokes, 2015. Now 10 years in here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Looking live there, of course, at the White House press briefing room. Looking forward to hearing from Karoline Leavitt today. Specifically, there are a few items out there. There are some activist judges, of course, coming against even the international trade deals that President Trump has scored or has done well with. Also, when it comes to various deportation operations that need to happen, some of these judges trying to come against President Trump's agenda. Well, he's the chief law enforcement officer, President Trump is, the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, and on top of that, all of us voted for him. I mean, the majority of the country. What more do these activist judges need to see other than, well, the will of the people? I guess we gotta submit to the will of the people. That's right, you do. If somebody commits a crime or breaks the law, then that's where a judge does their job, right? So thank God for that. But if you're not breaking a law and you're coming against what President Trump and Homeland Security and Customs Border Protection and law enforcement and Tom Homan and what they're doing to protect our country, what are you up to? Maybe move to a different country I don't know. You know what I mean? Anyway, so bottom of the hour, 12:30 almost, Thursday, May 29th. Let's replay one video from earlier about Customs and Border Protection, because yesterday, of course, was the 101st anniversary, 101 years of protecting our northern border, our southern border, our waterways as well. So let's go to that video from just yesterday from Customs Border Protection. A shout out to Customs Border Protection, doing a great job there along the border and teaming up with our military down there. You think about the Army and the Marines, and then National Guard and the Coast Guard and the Navy doing a great job down there. So I just saw the DHS Secretary Christina Loren spending some time with the Coast Guard as well there. So great to see that we have leaders that care about the actual people that they're working with. Just like President Trump, caring about the department leads, the cabinet members, and of course, we the people. All those speeches that President Trump shared with us over the years, I mean, even since 2015, all the way through until tomorrow even, and onward into the future, he means what he says when he's up there. He tells it like it is, and that is the bar that has been now set for any other leaders across our country, starting now into the future. I mean, really starting months ago, but that's the bar that's set there. I think of great leaders that are going to be hopeful governors of states: Byron Donalds, Florida; Vivek Ramaswamy, Ohio; Tommy Tuberville, Alabama, and on. So we want to see as many America First, real deal people leading our country, whether it's the executive branch, whether it's in legislative sections of it, the judiciary, also governors across this land. And then on top of that, those of you that are maybe younger, right, maybe in your 20s, and you want to run for city council or do something locally on the school board, you're fighting for the rights. They talk about fight for your right? Well, not the party, but fight for your constitutional right. Fight for your freedom. And fight, figuratively speaking, by voting, by working hard, by praying, by doing everything you can. And then on top of that, making it too big to rig, just like last go around. So, and speaking of elections, within the state of Louisiana, the Secretary of State there is using the new Doge database that is able to, and it's free to use, to clean up the voter rolls. So it's not only the people that are alive and citizens of the state of Louisiana are voting in elections. So this is something that any state can use. It's within Doge, and the Secretary of State. So a shout out to that state right there, Louisiana. All right, we're seeing live right now, of course, the press briefing room. We're about 31 minutes from the scheduled start time there. Let's go to specifically Karoline Leavitt one more time from earlier. Now, if you're just joining us right now, we did play a video about an hour ago, kind of a SNL comedic jab of sorts from the White House. Take a look.
Legislators on Capitol Hill are currently working to advance President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. With a bill this big and this beautiful, we brought in Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council and proud owner of 3 pocket calculators, to explain what it means for the IU, the American people. And don't worry, we brought in Karoline Leavitt to translate.
80 million workers in the U.S. are hourly workers who can make overtime if they work more than 40 hours, or sometimes in collective bargaining agreements, it could be overtime could start at 35 or earlier. And it's President Trump's view that when people have that extra income, that they shouldn't face an extra tax liability.
That means no tax on overtime.
It's a little-known fact that the highest marginal tax rate faced by almost anybody in America is a retired person who, when they get their government-funded retirement payment, then they pay a big tax. And the bottom line is that we're going to fix that by creating an expanded standard deduction.
Slashing taxes on Social Security.
It's little appreciated by non-economists that in 1986, we took away the ability for people who were itemizers to itemize interest on their auto loans. The big, beautiful bill is repairing that policy error.
That means no tax on interest for American-made vehicle purchases.
The bill also introduces a universal 401k for individuals that are new to the economy.
In other words, it's a Trump savings account for newborn babies.
Historically, businesses that buy a new factory have to depreciate it over 39 years. That means, for example, if you have $1 million building, you get a $25,641 deduction each year. But what President Trump wants to do is allow people to get the whole deduction in the first year.
Sounds to me like there's never been a better time to build a factory in America.
That video posted by the White House just yesterday, somewhat comical, especially at the beginning there. Similar to what SNL does, they have the lines come up in meantime at the White House, and then it's usually not that funny anyway. But all right, so live there, looking forward to seeing the press conference there. Back to what I was just saying about SNL, though, I love comedy, and sometimes there's things that are funny. However, when it comes to our country, we're winning. And so they should just maybe cover that, the fact that we're winning so much. As we see the White House press briefing room there, we're about 28 minutes from the top of the hour. And then, of course, that is the start of the press briefing. This all brought to you by a number of sponsors, including the next one you're about to see on your screen right now, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. BRICS nations like Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, trying to use their own currency, not as much use the US dollar and all these different financial headaches that are happening out there. Thank God for Maganomics and inflation going down, but also having gold and silver as a backup plan for your savings or your retirement. You can always do that with a tax-sheltered IRA or 401k backed in gold and silver. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN will get you that info kit right there to your mailbox. A great company, Colonial Metals Group. Let's also go to the next one you're about to see, Angel Paste out of Spring, Texas. Many products on there, including the Miracle Cream. So once you go to angelpaste.com, you can scroll through and check out all these different products that are on there. Out of Spring, Texas, hiring military veterans, a great sponsor here and a great product right there on your screen. Check it out, angelpaste.com, as it's 12:33 Thursday, May 29th. Thanks for sticking with us live, especially those of you that have watched since 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Actually, 10 a.m. Central. We're on Central Time here in Alabama on this part of the side of the state. So, but since 11 a.m. Eastern Time, thank you so much for watching over the past hour and a half as the cameras are getting ready, and we'll hear from Karoline Leavitt on the agenda moving forward from the president, and also any programming notes. Specifically, I know she'll probably say something about tomorrow, where the president will be traveling to Western Pennsylvania, the great Keystone State, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the state that went red for President Trump in 2024. and probably in 2020 as well, if you know what I mean, but also won in the 2016 election. So he'll be traveling to West Mifflin specifically, just southeast of Pittsburgh by maybe 30 minutes, a drive time there. So we'll have that live coverage tomorrow. I believe our start time will be at 12 Eastern tomorrow, right here on Right Side. President Trump speaks at about 5 Eastern. RSBN host Megan Kohler and the team on the way to Pittsburgh to interview we the people right outside of the venue, but also cover the president's speech there. So we'll have that here on Right Side. So a good way to start the weekend, a President Trump speech, but also to really correct the left's narrative. We've been talking about that a few times this week with a number of people that appeared on the program here, talking about the fact that when the mainstream media does what they do, we already know what they do, lie, 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 and lie some more. We have people in conservative media, us here at Right Side and others throughout conservative media, but also President Trump, when he speaks at these rallies or when he speaks in the Oval Office, really correcting the narrative head to head. Think about it. When he's in that Oval Office, across from the Resolute desk, oh my, just imagine being President Trump sitting there and looking at all these people in there, some of them on the right side of history. Thank God for that. And some of them not so much. And listening to just a bunch of bogus questions that have nothing to do with truth, common sense, winning, and getting our country saved. Quite the opposite. But he deals with that every time he's in the Oval Office. When there's an executive order signing or an announcement or a swearing-in ceremony right there at the Oval Office. But when he comes out to the rally tomorrow, so those of you that are watching from Pennsylvania or maybe watching this on replay later today or maybe tomorrow morning, those of you that are in the Pittsburgh area, let's make this a really loud, amazing event for the president, but also because we are happy with what's going on in this country. Now, those that say, well, there's still things that need to be done, I agree with you. There are plenty that needs to be done because it's only been 4 months since he's been at the seat there in the Oval Office. So, but someone that did the political comeback that he has and what he went through for all of us, and specifically individually what he had to go through and overcome through the power of God and through grit that he has. Yeah, tomorrow should be awesome at the U.S. Steel headquarters there in West Mifflin outside of Pittsburgh. So we'll have all that live coverage right here. We'll start at 12 o'clock. It's going to be nice to see once again here on Right Side Broadcasting Network that daily coverage. You remember all of those different rallies on Saturdays, on Sundays, even during the week sometimes, of just us out there interviewing people. And it's just a great thing to watch and to be a part of. So we look forward to you watching with us during the day tomorrow. And then, of course, hearing from President Trump, the main speaker tomorrow, the commander-in-chief and the leader of the free world. So great to have that ability to bring that to you live tomorrow here on Right Side Broadcasting Network on June 14th, Saturday, June 14th. We're going to have a lot of coverage as well. Not only is it Flag Day and President Trump's birthday, it is also the Army Military Grand Parade. And we'll have tons of coverage. We'll have live video, of course, and opportunities there in Washington as we cover that. Just a quick side note, June 14th is also my wife and I's anniversary. So it'll be bittersweet. I'll love covering it here, the American aspect of it. Maybe she'll come in the studio that day, who knows, but it'll be good to celebrate that as well. June 14th, so that's some coverage coming up. And then on top of that, the next day, June 15th, Father's Day through the 17th, is the G7 in Canada. President Trump is attending. Still have not heard word yet, specifically here at Right Side, when the president specifically will be in Canada. Will it be on the 15th, on Father's Day, the Sunday, or is it Monday, the 16th of June, or the 17th? We'll be having our cameras rolling regardless, live when it comes to the president's movements as we continue to cover President Trump, the 47th president of the United States. Let's look on Truth Social and X in the meantime, as we're about 20 minutes from the top of the hour and also the White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt. President Trump has pardoned former Army officer who was court-martialed for refusing a COVID-19 vaccine. That's an article you can see on RSBN on Truth Social. Also, President Trump declares victory in lawsuit against the Pulitzer Prize Board. Also, President Trump pardons former New York Congressman Michael Grimm. Paramount offers Trump millions of dollars to settle CBS lawsuit. So a lot of articles, and I just read them from on Truth Social on our account, so the RSBN account. So if you're not following RSBN on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. If you want to follow us on X, it's at RSB Network. Both accounts have more than 1 million followers on the accounts there, and those numbers grow. Also, you can follow our channel on Rumble and watch us live there as well, as we are about more than 500,000 subscribers. That number is growing. Of course, it's growing on other social platforms as well, X, Facebook, also YouTube. So it's just great to see the numbers still increasing. If you remember, not to, just give ourselves a shout out, but I'm going to. RSBN, since 2015, has grown in so much of popularity. It was already popular then because Joe Seals and the team here did so many great things with showing the crowds, showing the speeches. I joined in 2022, right? So Bobby McNeely just joined us pretty recently, not too long ago, but you saw him on the campaign trail. We saw Christina Loren live today. You'll see Megan Kohler tomorrow. But all of this has continued to increase. I mean, think about the numbers for the election coverage we had was more than 5 million viewers across all social platforms, then more than 6 million on Inauguration Day. So when you're combining all the numbers from all the platforms, there's a lot of people watching. So this is something to be able to share with your friends and family that, hey, these people, I believe, we're pretty based here at Right Side, and we really love this country. We really love our God. We love the Holy Bible. We love the Constitution. We love MAGA. We love MAHA. We love it all because it's winning. And we do still see outside of all that, whatever is truth or common sense, we still adhere to that first. So we still want to see certain things done, even in this administration. We want to see the law and order increase. We want to see justice be served. We want to see that wall be finished. We want to see the big, beautiful bill passed. We want to see a number of things. So looking forward to covering it here at the network. So if you'd like to donate to Right Side as we continue to grow, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801, whether it's literally $1 or $100, whatever it is, if you'd like to give to the network, because obviously this isn't cable where you have to pay for something. It's, I know we're not using the bunny ears with an antenna. It's live streaming all over the place, but still, if you like what you see, if you want to see more of it, if you have the extra few bucks, literally, if you only have $1, and if you don't have $1, no worries at all. But we're looking forward to seeing the president's big, beautiful bill pass, because that'll be 15% less on our taxes for those of us that make $30,000 upwards of $80,000 and everything in between. Anyway, so text RSBN to 801-801. And looking forward to seeing a little bit of those images tomorrow from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Not that plane. I wish we could see that plane again. We will someday. But we will be seeing great people there in Western Pennsylvania tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to seeing the crowds and the president. All right, so All Family Pharmacy is also another great sponsor here at Right Side. We've talked about them a few times, but when you're looking for ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or amoxicillin or methylene blue, or if you're just looking to avoid the whole hassle of the doctor's appointments and all that, and nothing against doctors that are on the right side of history that say, yes, ivermectin is something that we would write a prescription for. Well, that's what this company does. Allfamilypharmacy.com, the doctors there, they have doctors in all 50 states, and they also have 4 pharmacists that are right there ready to go. So if you're looking for all sorts of essential medications, antibiotics, you can get that right there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And go ahead and use that 20% code RSBN20. 20% off with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, let's go to our next sponsor here at 12:43 Thursday, May 29th, callshe.com. If you're looking to bet or trade on various things, it could be, name a topic, technology or science or sports or politics or whatever, you can do that and make some money there. callshe.com/RSBN. You could trade on the most important events, or you could trade on things like, what's the weather in New York today? That's actually one of the things that are on that site that people are trading on and betting on. So it's a good site, callshe.com/RSBN. Great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We've got 16 minutes until the top of the hour where we're going to hear from Karoline Leavitt at the White House. We'll be right back.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin. All the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it has had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 and see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez, looking live there at the White House press briefing room, getting ready for that to happen. It will be aired in its entirety right here on Right Side. Also, let's look at a few posts from Ronnie Jackson once again, the representative out of Texas, saying earlier, Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges. Amen. Let's look at the next post that he posted just about an hour ago. He said, we didn't have a president. We had radical unelected staffers with an auto pen signing off on America's decline. And then when I look at his X posts here and also Truth Social, he's saying things like, if the Democrats had a single brain cell, they would have learned in November that the American people have rejected their sick trans agenda. Parents across this nation are done with the radical left's attempts to indoctrinate and confuse our children. And, there's a small percentage of people that I believe that are on that radical side. I don't believe all Democrats are that, but we do know that that's who was trying to get into office this past go-around. And then AOC and Bernie Sanders and these wild people, they're trying to run for office coming up. I mean, talk about radical and woke. We really need to do our job here in these next 4 years, which we see President Trump doing, and take care of business, because we don't want that coming up. And we know that with the majority of the country, the way we've been voting, there's really no chance, but we still have to be smart in everything we do, of course. Anyway, one more post from Ronnie Jackson out of Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 to 10. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And then those posts. So he has the Bible scriptures, and then he has various comments there. We definitely need to put a request in to interview Ronnie Jackson. If you're just joining us, we interviewed one of the other great representatives out of Texas, Keith Self. He joined us just yesterday, a great interview with him, doing some great things, especially being a part of a foreign relations subcommittee on Europe, taking care of things out there in Poland. Poland's actually having another election coming up on June 1st. It's a runoff election. The first one just didn't, 50% of the vote didn't go to either candidate, so the right percentage, so they have to have a second vote. And he's working on making sure the George Soros, nice new name there, right? George Soros money and USAID money isn't trying to interfere with elections there. But unfortunately, the representative, along with other congressmen and women, are saying that's what's happening. And he's working on things there, writing letters to the European Union. So back to my point, we should get Randy Jackson on the live interview opportunity here. Also, we just put a request into the Senator Tommy Tuberville out of Alabama, as he is now running for governor of this great state here in the Southeast, the Deep South. And speaking of the Deep South, looking forward to, again, the Gulf of America. Maybe this summer. It will be great to check it out. Also, those of you that will be going to lakes and beaches all across our country, now might be a good time to let you know about MyPillow.com as well, the 50% off beach sale that's happening out there. All you have to do is go to MyPillow.com/RSBN for 50% off MyPillow's products right there. Live right now. If you use the RSBN code, you'll get 50% off. All right, so we're about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour as we continue to monitor any news that's happening out there. Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, is actually holding an event outside the DOT all about the American road trip and also leading into our 250th celebration, which is coming up, of course, next July. But that's a video we'll be uploading here shortly. Also, if you want to check out that Keith Self interview, that's uploaded on Rumble and other social platforms. All right, so we know that at 1 o'clock, the White House press briefing will kick off. Tomorrow, we know that the rally will be happening in Pittsburgh. We know on June 14th that we'll have the Army Grand Parade celebration from Washington, D.C. And then the president will travel to Canada for the G7, which is going to be held from June 15th to the 17th. So we'll know specifically what day he'll be speaking or having availability there. We'll bring that to you as we get it. We already did our 10-state shout-out for the next 5 days of live coverage. So we started out from Alabama all the way to Georgia, so the first 10 states alphabetically. Tomorrow we'll go from Hawaii to Maryland, and then we'll be going every day, just giving a shout-out to those of you watching all across our union, because without you, the viewers, of course, what would we be doing this for? So we're doing this for you to be able to show you all of the live coverage of the president's speeches, the Oval Office executive order signings, and today the press conference there with Karoline Leavitt. On top of that, hosts that work here, reporters, anchors, correspondents like RSBN host Megan Kohler, who will be live in Pittsburgh tomorrow. Our commentary and analysis just based in very simple stuff, common sense stuff, the Constitution in our great country, and definitely pro making America great again here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, sticking with truth and common sense as we cover this truthful and transparent administration that we see. And it's great. We're going to see more of that today. And we've been seeing a lot of the new media there as well. And it's great to see conservative media having a voice for we the people, because we know that mainstream media is not the voice of the people. The mainstream media is the voice of radical Democrats that want to destroy our country. It's pretty simple. We broke it down a few times, and that's the kind of commentary you're going to hear here on Right Side. Also, a shout out to RSBN host Robert McNeely, who is out of the office this week, but will be joining us soon, and I look forward to seeing him again here at the desk, but also various coverage that we have throughout the country as well. Also, a shout out to RSBN host Christina Loren, who has joined us twice this week live from Nashville, Tennessee. Great to hear insight from people that are everyday Americans, just like me, just like you, and we continue to cover this administration full steam ahead. We've been live since 11 a.m. this morning. No teleprompter needed, because we just love this stuff, you know, just like President Trump. He uses the prompter sometimes. I think it's good to have a prompter once in a while, but it's always fun to riff sometimes. Hopefully you're on track with a good point, you know. All right, anyway, so it's 12:53. We're 7 minutes from the top of the hour. RFK Jr. said on Monday, May 12th, we finally have a president standing up for the American people. Isn't that great to hear from RFK Jr., someone that was independent or Democrat and has come all the way over to the right side of history, not only a Republican, but really good versus evil, or the truth versus lies, or what's right versus what's wrong. That was what was on the ballot, as you guys know, on November 5th, 2024, was what's on the ballot, what's right versus what's wrong. So RFK Jr. saying, I'm going to go with the right side of history. This is the truth over here, and I'm going to team up with President Trump. And he is the one saying, back on May 12th, we finally have a president standing up for the American people. And then we finally have somebody at Health and Human Services that is all out about making America healthy again, taking the processed crap in the food system and cleaning that up. and working on that every day with his team there at HHS. So a lot of great things happening with our administration. We do want to see, of course, the justice being served where it needs to be, especially those that broke the law over the past 4 years. So we'll be monitoring any of that happens here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we'll be hearing again from the president tomorrow in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we're all looking forward to that here. Also, looking up, again, I was talking earlier about common sense reporting. Let's do some common sense reporting, right? A patriot. A patriot, according to the dictionary, is simply a person who loves, supports, and defends their country and its interests with devotion. That's all a patriot is. A patriot is a person who loves, supports, and defends their country and its interests with devotion. So we see that that's what's happening since day one with President Trump in 2015 being that outsider. Then this cabinet that he has this go around. And on top of that, all of us, we the people, supporting this great leader. Again, all of us being patriots. We are people who love and support and defend their country and its interests with devotion. We pray, we vote, we speak about it to our friends and family when the cameras aren't rolling. We still support the president, the commander-in-chief, and of course, people like Karoline Leavitt, who are complete rock stars for the freedom movement, for conservatism, for the free world. And it's something that even, when you look at international media, as some do, whether you look at European media, Indian media, any media around the world, most of the time when you flip through those channels, they're actually talking about Washington, D.C. and President Trump and Karoline Leavitt said this today. I mean, talking about being the leader of the free world, this is legit. Like, this is the real deal. This is what's happening in 2025. It's been that way for some time, but the problem has been conservative media only had a smaller voice. Now conservative media is growing by leaps and bounds and maturing into something that is going to have all of the viewers that really care about our country on the right side of history. So the amount of exposure that the conservative media has now is quite something as well. I mean, a lot of people watching and replaying, and whether it's listening to a quick soundbite on a social media platform or live streaming all of this content, specifically on Rumble right now, more than pushing 600,000 subscribers just on Rumble, but millions of people following Right Side on various social platforms, but also, again, conservative media as a whole, just rising to the occasion. And thanks to, again, God, Rush Limbaugh, and President Donald Trump. In that order. God, Rush Limbaugh, and President Trump, because Rush Limbaugh, of course, he was that voice out there that we all listen to, or most of us listen to. And then President Trump comes along and he's like, these guys are fake news. And we're like, what? Did the president just say that? Yes, he did. Remember Jim Acosta at the White House when he was standing up at the East Room with the microphone? Anyway, he said, sit down, you're fake news. And we just weren't used to that kind of stuff. And it's great to have a real person that is saying, you know what, when the lies come this way, they're not affecting me. I'm just going to spit back truth. That's what we do here at Right Side as well. Tax Network USA, as we get ready to go to Karoline Leavitt, a rock star there in Washington, D.C. All you have to do is call 800-357-1415. That's the number, or tnusa.com/RSBN. You get all the information you need. If you're concerned about some back taxes that you'd like to settle and you got to figure out how to do that, this is the patriotic group that you can rely on and trust. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. Also, mybrightcore.com/RSBN. If you want to save 25% on this great product that you see right there, Kimchi One, all about gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties, you can save that 25% with that code, or you can actually save 50% by giving them a call, just asking some questions, talking about the products, and then if you purchase a product, you get 50% off. 888-722-0936. Brightcore, a great product made in the United States of America. And Kim Bright, if you haven't heard some of her interviews here at the network, a great person that just loves making America healthy again and making America great again, a big supporter of President Trump and RFK Jr. But outside of just her political views, the product is great. And that reminds me of All Family Pharmacy and pretty much everybody we work with. here, and the sponsorships and the partnerships we have, all patriotic companies are just getting the job done for the American people. So shout out to all of our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you'd like to follow us, again, on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. If you'd like to follow us on X, it's at RSB Network. So those are the places to do that. If you'd like to follow myself, it's at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social. And go ahead and follow Christina Loren and Megan Kohler, Robert McNeely, all of us on there as well. So all on Truth Social and some on X. So it's great to have a community of people that are on the right side of history and on the support team of the words of freedom that are echoing throughout this country and on the highways and byways. I mean, I was just traveling from home back in Pennsylvania back down to Alabama the other day after a Memorial Day weekend visit with friends and family, and it was great to see the many states that I saw. And welcome to Maryland, welcome to West Virginia, to Virginia, onwards to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, a little bit of Tennessee, then Alabama. I mean, great states right there. Those of you watching in all those states, a shout out to you. We've got a beautiful country, and we've got a beautiful situation happening if the big, beautiful bill passes as well, because you look at the percentages, 15% tax decrease for those of us out there making $30,000 to $80,000, everybody in between. 15% less in taxes, so that's less coming out of, out of our paychecks. So that big, beautiful bill, and that's only one thing out of probably 20 items that are positive and great for this country. So we'll see. Will the Senate pass it? What needs to be ironed out? If there's a few things, well, that's part of the process. But making sure that the main things are staying with that bill, maybe, how about all of it? They could pass it all too, just like the House did. And then President Trump will be signing that as soon as possible, as soon as it passes the Senate. So looking forward to having that coverage here when that happens on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, President Trump, of course, on January 20th, 2025, some 129 days ago, said the following: "In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God." President Trump said that at the U.S. Capitol building. Can you believe it's been 129 days? I think it feels like it's been 2 years, in a good way, but that's only been 4 months. And obviously, we've been covering most of it right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So you can always count on us to bring you live events, live coverage, just like today's press briefing, and tomorrow when we'll have Rally Day in America. So we hope you'll join us tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern as we get ready to show you Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and President Trump's great trip there. All right, let's look on Truth Social and see if there's any new posts. Right now, Congressman Brandon Gill out of Texas as well. He says the American people watched Biden's decline for 4 years, but the Orwellian Democrat media apparatus demanded you don't believe the evidence of your eyes and ears. If Biden didn't know what he was signing, his executive orders were never legitimate. That, according to Brandon Gill, the great representative there in Texas. Also, looking through Truth Social right now and seeing if there's any new posts from the president. Not as of this point, but I'm sure there will be. As you guys know, at least, I wonder what the average is at this point per day, but it's great to see it because he talks directly to the American people. And then secondly, he corrects the narrative of the lies from the left wing. So it's great to have Truth Social, and great for President Trump that he has that awesome ability to just speak to us and let us know what's going on. All right, let's do this. It is 1:03 Eastern. We see the press sitting down right now. Let's go live. Let's just listen in at the room there. If it doesn't start for the next 2 minutes, we'll come back here. We'll continue some commentary. But in the meantime, let's go to Washington, D.C. right now. Okay, so as we wait for Karoline Leavitt to start the press briefing there, we just received an email from the White House in regards to some specifics about the ruling on President Trump's tariffs is blatantly wrong. And we are confident this decision will be overturned on appeal. We're talking about the trade deals internationally where a judge has recently come against what President Trump is doing there. So Congress, not the courts, was provided the authority to review and terminate emergency declarations, and Congress has already voted to uphold President Trump's emergency declaration. So America's voters provided President Donald Trump with a mandate to address the national security emergency created by historic and persistent trade deficits. Unelected judges shouldn't stand in the way of the executive branch's lawful use of powers to address national security and foreign policy. This from the White House just now. In fact, this has already been adjudicated in Congress when the Senate rejected an effort to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs, further upholding and affirming the lawful use of this emergency declaration. So the president has an absolute right to conduct foreign policy and preserve our national security, and we're confident we will win on approval. So just a little bit of background here on this story as we get ready to see Karoline Leavitt there. A ruling in federal court earlier this month shows that the administration is in the right and that we will win on appeal. A federal district judge in Florida ruled that the IEEPA, in fact, does grant the presidency the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. All right, so some specifics there when it comes to the international trade deals that are going on out there, and some judges that are activists saying, well, you can't really do that. And the White House chiming back saying, well, yes, we can, and here's how it's going to be done. So that information just from the White House moments ago. All right, let's go to Colonial Metals Group as we await this great press briefing. freegoldguy.com/RSBN. Of course, you could shield your savings now with Colonial Metals Group. You could protect your IRA or 401k with gold 100% tax-free. Just go to freegoldguy.com/RSBN. That's the spot to do it if you want to protect your dollars or your hard-earned savings in gold or silver. All right, so 107 Thursday, May 29th. Still awaiting the press secretary there. Looking forward to hearing what she has to say as we get ready for the press briefing. Also, if there's any other breaking news or any other live events to cover, we will do that right here on the channel. And we will also be able to share with you any uploads on Rumble or other social platforms as we continue to cover America First news here at the network. Tomorrow, again, Rally Day here in this country, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Our coverage will start at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. The president will speak at about 5 o'clock. So looking forward to all of that coverage. We are looking live there again at the press briefing room, so just standing by at this point. We've been live since 11 this morning. A lot of live interviews that we've had since 11, and also a number of great videos from Customs and Border Protection. A shout out to them again as they just celebrated 101 years in service for this country. All the great things that they're doing along the southern border, finally being able to do the job that they're paid to do. Something that under the last so-called administration wouldn't want them to do, is their actual job of stopping illegal immigrants from coming across the border. The borders are closed now, and the narcotics, the numbers of the amount of drugs coming across dropping as well, as the Coast Guard, the Navy, Customs, Border Protection, and the Marines and the Army, National Guard, everybody along that southern border doing a great job there. We're also going to see the rest of the wall be built during this administration. The big, beautiful bill, some of that money is going towards that operation there. So this bill is not only for a tax drop of 15% for those making $30,000 to $80,000 in this country. It's also to supply the southern border mission with what it needs, whether it's more Customs Border Protection agents or a pay increase for some of these agents down there doing the job that, just imagine doing that job. You know, not only are there illegal immigrants that would try and cross in various sections of the lower part of our country, but also the drug cartel trying to deliver narcotics, trying to use their drones, which is a fact now. We've heard confirmations from the White House in regards to several drones being used by the drug cartel to monitor movements along the border. also to, in some cases, drop narcotics in different places. Well, now our Army, there's an article that Summer Lane wrote on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Our Army's actually using not only drones that we're used to, right, where the military has their drones that they use, they're creating 3D printed drones along the southern border. It's a fact. That's news to me. That's pretty cool that they're using these 3D drones to monitor and surveil where they need to along the border of the movements of the terrorist organization, the drug cartel on the southern border. Also, we're told these are going to be used on the northern border as well, because there are some drug cartels operating in Canada. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of things be done when it comes to the main issue of why we wanted President Trump to be the president. One was the border, two, of course, the economy. But outside of all of that, for me personally, it was really about the constitutional rights and keeping our country from falling off the side of the cliff there, which was about to happen. But thank God it was too big to rig in November of 2024. And we have some more work to do yet. We're only 4 months in with President Trump, so many years to come and some great things to happen. Looking forward to hearing from Karoline Leavitt at any minute. It's 1:11 Eastern Time. One more programming note. For those of you that have been with us for the past 2 hours, thank you for listening to this one more time. Rally Day in America tomorrow, 12 p.m. Tomorrow it starts here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. RSBN host Megan Kohler will be there in Pittsburgh live. And we'll hear from the president a bit later in the day tomorrow, all live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and all brought to you by allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You see the information there, 20% off on various medications, more than 200 essential medications available, antibiotics, and also you can order health kits. You can also order in bulk, or if you just want maybe one prescription, maybe it's just amoxicillin and you just want to get it directly sent to you, or ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, and all the others. This is a great site, a great company, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 20 promo code for 20% off, as it's 12 after 1 o'clock here on Right Side. We're seeing some of the doors open there on the left, so that means it's about to start. Thanks for hanging tight with us as we are on standby mode, getting ready to see the Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, who has plenty to say, I'm sure, after the Memorial Day weekend. I mean, there's a lot of news that has been going on in the 24/7 news cycle, including, I believe, she'll talk about the international trade deals where some judges are trying to come against President Trump's agenda with that. Also about tomorrow's speech in Pittsburgh, and then we'll see what else is on the agenda and what else the president is talking about. And we'll hear from some of the press there, and we'll hear what questions they have. I look forward to hearing from the conservative media questions more than the other folks that are in the room, because we know that the conservative media is on the right side of history and is in support of positive things happening for our country, and not the woke mind virus that unfortunately is in many on the left side of the aisle. But hopefully they'll wake up and join us over here on the right side. All right, so 1:13, looking forward to this live picture here. It looks like the camera, as they zoom in to that door, that this is going to start any minute from now. Let's go to Washington. All right, still awaiting Karoline Leavitt there. It's 1:15 Eastern Time, Thursday, May 29th. A great article written by Summer Lane that just was posted on Truth and X. Unstoppable momentum. Trump's popularity with Americans remains strong. So President Donald Trump's approval ratings are surging amid his second term in the White House. The article goes on to say, proving that the American people are with him as he works hard to carry out his America First agenda. According to Rasmussen reports, the president's approval ratings have hovered between 53 and 52% on Wednesday and Thursday, demonstrating a majority of supporters support his presidency among likely voters. So that's essentially where it was the first week, according to the Rasmussen head pollster, Mark Mitchell. He says, I think people knew what Trump was going to bring to the fight, and he is. So I think this presidency is just all business. The president's strong performance in the White House so far, focused on building up American strength and bringing a message of peace and commerce worldwide, seems to resonate very strongly with voters beleaguered by 4 years of Biden-induced chaos. The article continues on, but when I look at these different percentages, 53, 52%, okay, that's a majority, that's great, but I'm thinking it's like 80%. 20% of the country, let's go to Karoline Leavitt.
How are you? Wow, a packed room today.
Yes, ma'am.
Last night, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year since 1975. In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem, and he has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers after decades of our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. 3 judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. Congress had created the National Emergency Act to provide the congressional framework to strike down improper IEEPA use. And any questions over whether President Trump improperly imposed these IEEPA tariffs were already adjudicated in Congress following Liberation Day. Congress firmly rejected an effort led by Senator Rand Paul and Democrats to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country. With Congress returning next week, it's critical that Senate Republicans maintain the momentum and quickly pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill will truly make America safe and prosperous. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes the largest border security investment ever. That's why the law enforcement groups are lining up to encourage its swift passage. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the largest police union in the country, just endorsed key provisions of the bill. The FOP president announced their strong support, saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. And the National Border Patrol Council, which represents nearly 20,000 Border Patrol agents, hailed the legislation as well. The group's president said this legislation provides a once-in-a-generation investment in the border security of our great country and will make America safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee we can permanently have the safest, strongest, and most secure immigration system in American history. I also want to take the opportunity to debunk some false claims that have been circulating in the press about this bill. The blatantly wrong claim that the One Big Beautiful Bill increases the deficit is based on the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers who use shoddy assumptions and have historically been terrible at forecasting across Democrat and Republican administrations alike. For example, just before Congress enacted the original Trump tax cuts at the end of 2017, the same CBO projected that growth would average a mere 1.9% over the next 10 years. However, by 2019, actual growth had surged to 3.4% once the Trump tax cuts went into effect, exceeding the CBO forecast by nearly 2 full percentage points. The CBO's latest forecast makes the same anemic growth assumptions as they did in 2017, missing the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The CBO assumes long-term GDP growth of an anemic 1.8%, and that is absurd. The American economy is going to boom like never before after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed. The largest middle-class tax cut in history, massive deregulation, and the most aggressive domestic energy exploration ever will fuel small businesses, further boost private investment, increase workers' wages, and supercharge economic growth. The Council of Economic Advisors has factored in the effects of all these pro-growth policies and estimated in their own analysis that growth will average 3% in the long run after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed, which is nearly double the ridiculous CBO projection. This higher growth would result in $4.1 trillion in additional revenue over the next 10 years. Between the common sense spending reforms contained in the One Big Beautiful Bill and the robust economic growth that will be generated as a result of it, there will be no increase to the deficit. The same analysis from the CEA shows just how this historic package will unleash prosperity and ignite a blue-collar boom across America. But if the radical Democrats get their way and the One Big Beautiful Bill does not pass, Americans will face a whopping $4 trillion tax hike. This is unacceptable to President Trump. President Trump will not allow Democrats to massively raise Americans' taxes. Senate Republicans must get this bill passed. Failure is not an option. The American people are counting on Republicans to deliver. In other news, despite all the doom casting from the media, Americans are growing more and more optimistic about the economy under this president. Consumer confidence surged in May with the biggest monthly jump in 4 years, smashing expectations. According to the release from the Consumer Confidence Index, the increase in confidence was broad-based across all age groups, income groups, and political affiliations. Our country is clearly heading in the right direction under President Trump's bold leadership. For the first time in history of Rasmussen polling, a majority of Americans believe the country is on the right track. It's unsurprising because the president is fulfilling the promises he made to the American people. Here in our new media seat today, we have the editor-in-chief of The Federalist, Molly Hemingway. The Federalist is led by Molly and Sean Davis and provides fearless journalism and coverage of politics and culture to millions of readers all over the world. Thank you for being here, Molly, and why don't you please kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In the first Trump administration, there was an effort to stymie the agenda of Trump through the Russia collusion hoax perpetuated by many people in the media, including some people seated here, or the media outlets they represent, and other Democrats as well. The second Trump administration, to reference what you said at the beginning, seems to be subject to an effort to stymie the agenda using rogue lower court judges. You mentioned that the Supreme Court could and should do something to rein in these lower court judges. Also, Congress could do something about it, but they don't seem terribly interested in it. It also seems there's not much of an actual coordinated effort from this White House to take and tackle this effort from judges, Democrats and other people using these judges to stymie the agenda. Is there an actual effort by this White House to tackle this issue in a comprehensive way? And if so, what is it?
There is an effort by this administration to tackle these rogue judges and the injunctions and the blockades that we have faced in our broken judicial system in every case. I mean, we have seen time and time again these lower district court judges ruling against this administration in the president's basic executive authority and powers. And this administration is fighting every single one of those battles in court, including already the block that came down from the tariff court, the IEPA court last night. And as on my way out here to the briefing room, I understand that there was another district court judge right here in Washington, D.C., who ruled against the president's tariff power. And I will get to the heart of your question, and I'm glad that we are addressing this in the room today, because nationwide injunctions ordered against the first Trump administration, Trump 1.0, account for more than half of the injunctions issued in this country since 1963. And President Trump had more injunctions in one full month of office in February than Joe Biden had in 3 years. And let me roll through some of these radical injunctions to paint the picture for the American people at home. These are not just talking points. These are real judges in the court of law who are trying to block the president's power and the policies that he was elected to enact. For example, a court ordered the Trump administration to return already deported terrorist aliens back to the United States. A court has ruled the Trump administration can't even temporarily pause our refugee programs. Courts prohibited the Trump administration from eliminating federal funding for child transgender surgery and mutilation, a practice that the American people overwhelmingly reject. A court also held that the Trump administration could not ban people experiencing gender dysphoria or mental health issues from serving in the military. Ridiculous. Courts prohibited the removal of transgender women from women's prisons, despite potential physical harm to real women in those prisons, biological women. A Northern District of California judge issued an absurd ruling that the president cannot fire people within the executive branch without Congress passing a bill, even though Congress has expressly authorized the president through the Office of Personnel Management to authorize reductions in force across agencies. A court also ordered the Trump administration to rehire thousands of already fired employees in several cases. A federal judge blocked the Trump administration from defunding the Department of Education, another signature campaign promise that this president has the power to implement. Courts ordered the Trump administration could not eliminate funding for illegal DEI programs, hence the word illegal. These are illegal programs to begin with, and now the courts are trying to say this president can't roll them back. And a district court judge prohibited the president from issuing any categorical funding freezes. And then another court ordered on top of that the administration makes $2 billion of payments in 36 hours. These are just a few of the ridiculous orders that we have seen from lower district court judges every day, and we hope that the Supreme Court will weigh in and rein them in.
But White House advisor Stephen Miller says it's judicial tyranny. Some people are calling it a judicial coup. You're saying you're responding to each and every one of these actions, efforts by these judges to delay or thwart the implementation of the agenda. But is there going to be anything more than that, or is it just going to let this operation continue, even though it could delay everything for years until the presidency is over?
The administration is operating under the directive given to from the president that we need to comply with the court's orders. He's made that very clear, but we're going to fight them in court, and we're going to win on the merits of these cases because we know we are acting within the president's legal and executive authorities. And thanks for being here. Gabe.
Thank you, Karoline. Question on tariffs, but first actually some foreign policy news, some breaking news. Some local Israeli media is reporting that Prime Minister Netanyahu told hostage families that he's accepted a 60-day truce offer. So can you confirm, have Israel and Hamas agreed to a truce?
I can confirm that Special Envoy Witkoff and the president submitted a ceasefire proposal to Hamas that Israel backed and supported. Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning. I won't comment further as we are in the midst of this right now.
So to be clear, you don't know if Hamas has accepted it yet?
Not to my knowledge, but certainly if that becomes the case and this ceasefire goes into effect, you'll hear it directly from myself, the president, or Special Envoy Witkoff.
On tariffs, Kevin Hassett earlier this morning, he brushed off a legal ruling and called it a hiccup, and he said that trade deal negotiations would continue. Why would other countries continue these trade deal negotiations given the ruling?
Because other countries around the world have faith in the negotiator-in-chief, President Donald J. Trump. And they also probably see how ridiculous this ruling is, and they understand that the administration is going to win, and we intend to win. We already filed an emergency appeal. We expect to fight this battle all the way to the Supreme Court. These other countries should also know, and they do know, that the president reserves other tariff authorities, Section 232, for example, to ensure that America's interests are being restored around the world. But I can confirm that our ambassador for trade, Jameson Greer, already heard from countries around the world this morning who said they intend to continue with these negotiations. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. So many of the president's plans right now are being blocked by courts. If the courts are going to be the ones who are shaping policy, does the president wish he would have just become a judge instead?
I think the president would take this job over being a judge, and certainly the president is acting within his authority. He wishes judges would do the same.
But so the courts are basically telling you guys they think that the White House's policies, the president's policies, are in some way against the law. So why can't President Trump ask the Republicans that control the House and the Republicans that control the Senate just to make a new law?
Well, these laws have already been granted to the president by the Constitution and by laws that have been previously passed. I'll give you another example. For instance, we've been blocked in court for the revocation of visas from individuals who have the privilege of studying in the United States of America. Secretary of State Rubio has simply used his authority to revoke those visas, to revoke that privilege, and we've seen the courts try to block that. So if these judges want to be the Secretary of State or they want to be the president, they can run for office themselves. It should be the other way around. But all of the actions the president has taken rely on legal authorities that have already been granted to him by our nation's existing laws.
And on a different topic, there are some folks in President Biden's inner circle who are now in talks with Republicans in Congress to give interviews about how they may have handled President Biden's decline. Is the president satisfied with aides only sitting for these transcribed interviews, or would he also like to see some kind of testimony from the former First Lady, Dr. Biden?
I think, frankly, the former First Lady should certainly speak up about what she saw in regards to her husband and when she saw it and what she knew, because I think anybody looking, again, at the videos and photo evidence of Joe Biden with your own eyes and a little bit of common sense can see this was a clear cover-up. And Jill Biden was certainly complicit in that cover-up. There's documentation, video evidence of her clearly shielding her husband away from the cameras. They were just on The View last week. She was saying everything is fine. She's still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it. Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump was asked what he thought about Elon Musk's claim that the big, beautiful bill increases the budget deficit and undermines the work of DOJ. And the president didn't actually comment on those remarks. He just talked about the need to support the bill. So what does the president think about what Elon Musk said?
Well, the president is very proud of the one big beautiful bill, and he wants to see it pass. He wants the Senate to get to work on it and send it to his desk as quickly as possible. Of course, as you know, Elon Musk announced last night his departure as an official special government employee from the Trump administration. We thank him for his service. We thank him for getting DOJ off of the ground, and the efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse will continue.
So he doesn't have any comment about Musk saying it adds to the deficit and it undermines all his work?
The president commented on this. I commented on it. I told you that this bill saves $1.6 trillion according to the Council of Economic Advisors and the analyses that the president believes in. So he gave a comment. I gave a comment. Just because you don't like that comment doesn't mean it's not a comment. Rachel.
Thanks, Caroline. Back on trade. I know you said the White House is going to fight this ruling in court. Is the administration actively reviewing other avenues, other options to carry out the president's trade policy?
The president's trade policy will continue. We will comply with the court orders, but yes, the president has other legal authorities where he can implement tariffs. However, it does not dispute the fact that the president was right to declare a national emergency when it came to fentanyl and when it came to our crippling deficits and the lack of critical supply chains here at home. That is the reasoning for the president's tariffs. And the court didn't dispute those facts, by the way. And there have been other courts that have reaffirmed the president's position. In fact, a ruling in federal court earlier this month shows that the administration is in the right, said we will win on appeal. A federal district judge in Florida ruled that IEEPA, in fact, does grant the president the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. And 20 years ago, I will add, they are not a court, the New York Times editorial board responded to the January 2005 trade deficit of $58.3 billion by writing an editorial entitled Dangerous Deficits. And since then, our trade deficit has more than doubled. The U.S. trade deficit in January totaled a whopping $131.4 billion. So people on both sides of the aisle, pundits, lawyers, legal scholars, politicians have all agreed that it is a national emergency, our trade deficits and our lack of critical supply chains here at home. It's just President Trump was the first president to actually act on it, to restore that wealth and that prosperity to the United States of America. And it's very unfortunate that the courts are now blocking his attempts to do that.
Has the administration then reached the point where you are actually asking your economic advisors to start reviewing other avenues to implement the president's trade policy, or do you want to just see this legal process take place for now?
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We are doing both. Josh.
The Fed says the president met with the Fed chair earlier today. I'm wondering if you can give us any readout of that meeting. The Fed also says that they discussed the economy. I imagine the president might have shared views on rates as well, but what can you share?
I can share with you that we saw, the president and I both saw the statement that the Fed put out after the meeting. That statement is correct. However, the president did say that he believes the Fed chair is making a mistake by not lowering interest rates, which is putting us at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. And the president's been very vocal about that, both publicly and now I can reveal privately as well.
Did he speak at all about his plans for that position, but whether he would seek to move Jay Powell out of that position or keep him in until his term ends?
No.
Okay. Ask very quickly on the tariff question. You mentioned Section 232 earlier. Are you suggesting that you might sort of speed up some of the existing 232 investigations? Or are you talking potentially using 232 as a replacement power if this ruling doesn't go your way? Of course, you hope it does.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just simply stating the fact that the president has other legal authorities he can use to implement tariffs, and the administration is willing to use those. As you know, we already have applied Section 232 tariffs on specific industries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
President Trump said that he needed 1.5 to 2 weeks to determine whether or not he believed Vladimir Putin wanted peace. He has been in office now for 4 months. What does he believe is going to happen in the next 1.5 to 2 weeks that would change his opinion?
Well, it is my understanding and it is our hope that Russia and Ukraine will engage in direct talks and negotiations next week in Istanbul, and we believe that meeting is going to take place, and that is a meeting the president encouraged and urged for these two sides to come together and negotiate directly. And the president has been clear from the very beginning of this conflict that he wants to see this conflict solved on the negotiating table, not on the battlefield, and he's told that to both leaders, again, both publicly and privately. So hopefully next week it will move the ball forward in this.
Is going to participate in those conversations?
We will let you know if the president plans to send a representative. I'm not tracking that at this time. Kelly in the back.
Thanks, Caroline.
Sure.
I wanted to just clarify once and for all the Qatari jet, the sale, or the gift, because the Qatari government is asking the U.S. to clarify that the jet's pending transfer was initiated by the Trump administration. So is this something that the White House is going to do?
The amount of questions we've received, and we've been incredibly clear, and I have answered this, the president has answered this, the Department of Defense has answered this. This is a government-to-government gift transfer from the Qataris to the Department of Defense, to the United States Air Force. It is now in their hands, and for further details on where that stands, I would defer you to the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force. I have nothing more for you on that. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions, one on Big Beautiful Bill, one on immigration.
Sure.
Yesterday, Trump said, we'll be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. Wondering if you could, share any specifics on that. And on immigration, do you know how many illegal migrants have taken Trump's voucher program so far and have deported themselves?
I believe it's in the thousands of those who have chosen the easier route of self-deportation, and we certainly encourage all illegal aliens who are present within our homeland to take that option. It's a much more pleasant option than being deported, and we will deport you if you're here illegally. That's our intention. As for the first question, what the president was speaking about is how this is a great bill. However, it has come as a result of a hard negotiation. It's difficult to get things done on Capitol Hill, but thanks to President Trump, this bill is moving in the right direction, and thanks to House Republicans and the leadership over there as well, who did a great job mediating both sides of the caucus to move this bill to the Senate. And now the president, again, has told his friends on the Senate side and is already engaged in those conversations to get that bill back to his desk as soon as possible. Sure.
Has this administration been briefed about the incident that happened in Gaza on Tuesday during the rollout of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution of aid to Palestinians there? And should there be a ceasefire, will this administration continue to rely on this foundation for the distribution of aid to civilians?
Are you referring, what incident are you referring to?
Tuesday,
when the aid was rolled out to Gaza for the first time in many months, and meals and food was given to hungry people thanks to President Trump. Yes, we were briefed on that plan. The president was the reason that aid went into Gaza, and he got the Israelis to support that plan. And I would add that the previous administration rejected such a plan to ensure that these starving and devastated people in the Gaza Strip were given humanitarian aid and assistance. And it was the previous administration that tried to build this pier, if you all remember it. It was brought to my attention this morning, and I thought that's a good point. Why don't I bring that up? Because there's been so much criticism. In fact, it was on the front page of a newspaper this morning about the criticism for this president having a humanitarian heart and giving people badly needed food and supplies. Nobody wanted to talk about how the previous administration failed in that endeavor. They built this pier that cost $230 million. It lasted about 20 days, and more than 60 U.S. service members were injured, as a part of this floating aid pier that did nothing for the people of Gaza. The president is opening up his humanitarian heart to get aid into the region while his team simultaneously negotiates a ceasefire and the return of all hostages. We are moving the ball forward in a positive direction for all people. The president wants to see peace for all people. Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Caroline. A notice investigation found that the Hallmark Maha Commission report that was released last week cites studies that appear to not exist. We know that because in part we reached out to some of the listed authors who said that they didn't write the studies cited. So I want to ask, does the White House have confidence that the information coming from HHS can be trusted?
Yes, we have complete confidence in Secretary Kennedy and his team at HHS. I understand there were some formatting issues with the Maha report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
Follow-up, can you talk about what tools or research goes into production of these kinds of reports? For instance, is it AI that's used to put together these reports now?
I can't speak to that. I would defer you to the Department of Health and Human Services. What I know is just what I told you. Lindsay.
Many small businesses that we've talked to since the tariffs have been in place have said what would really help them is a long-term plan so that they can catch up. In light of what's happened now, this trade war with the courts, how will that impact this 90-day window? Will you guys be adjusting that? And how can you help relieve some of these small businesses?
Well, I would say nobody understands the needs of business owners, and nobody has the backs of our small business community more than President Donald J. Trump. He believes, I've heard him talk about this with small business owners himself, that small businesses are truly the backbone of our American economy. And that's why the president is supporting the One Big Beautiful Bill. So for those you spoke to who are asking for a long-term plan, big tax cuts are coming their way. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime for their workers, more money in their pockets. Their bottom lines will be larger. They can pay their people more. Wages are going to go up. Inflation will continue to come down. We've already seen energy prices plummeting as a result of this president's economic and energy agenda that he has been implementing across the federal government, reducing burdensome regulation. All of that is good news for small business owners across the country. That's why they strongly support the president, and that's the Trump economic plan that is underway. And again, you're emphasizing, I believe, the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, and the president wants to see that happen. Sure.
Will you still work within that 90-day window for these trade negotiations?
Again, as far as we're concerned, our trade agenda is moving forward, and we've already heard from countries around the world today who will continue to negotiate in good faith with the United States so we can cut good trade deals on behalf of the American people, and we fully expect to win this case in court. Sure.
On Golden Dome, the president put out this number of $61 billion. How did he arrive at that? Is that the number it will cost to protect Canada, and is it negotiable, or where did it come from?
I can certainly ask the president, and I can check in with our research team, and we'll get you the facts on that number. But the Golden Dome is certainly a significant investment in our nation's national security and homeland security to protect Americans, all of you in this room, from future threats.
Any readout on have the Canadians been talking in good faith about paying to be in it? I know they expressed some interest.
Well, the president has certainly expressed to the Canadians how we are essentially subsidizing their national defense. He brought it up in his meeting with their new leader here, and as you know, we'll be traveling to Canada next month for the G7, so I expect that topic of discussion to come up on that trip as well. Sure.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. There was a May Day USA rally in Seattle that happened over the weekend that developed into some protests and riots. The Seattle Mayor Herald said that it was a far-right rally held here to provoke a reaction by promoting beliefs that are inherently opposed to our city's values, which he defined as LGBT values. I know the FBI is looking into this, but has the president reached out to the mayor at all, asked him to apologize for this, and is this something that the administration would consider an example of anti-Christian bias?
I'm not aware of that case. I know the FBI is looking into it, but I'm not aware of any phone calls the president may or may not have made to the mayor of that city.
And then on Doge, we know that Elon Musk is leaving. Do you have an updated leadership structure for who is leading the group? Is Russ Vought involved? And what is its new mission now, if any?
Well, the entire cabinet is involved, and I spoke to the president about it this morning, and the entire cabinet understands the need to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse, and each cabinet secretary at their respective agencies is committed to that. That's why they were working hand in hand with Elon Musk, and they'll continue to work with the respective Doge employees who have onboarded as political appointees at all of these agencies. So surely the mission of Doge will continue, and many Doge employees are now political appointees and employees of our government, and to the best of my knowledge, all of them intend to stay and continue this important work.
Is there a Doge leader taking the place of Mr. Musk?
Well, again, the Doge leaders are each and every member of the president's cabinet and the president himself, who is wholeheartedly committed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from our government. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. There's conflicting reports out of the Middle East right now. Saudi television network Al Arabia is saying that Israel and Hamas have agreed to a 60-day ceasefire. Sources with Hamas are saying that has not been agreed to. If and when that does happen, will we expect to hear something from President Trump announcing that?
As I said earlier, yes, indeed. If there is an announcement to be made, it will come from the White House, the president, myself, or Special Envoy Witkoff.
Caroline, one big beautiful bill. The president says he's not happy with all aspects of it. What changes would he like to see be made? And can this bill be both big and beautiful?
It is a one big beautiful bill, as the name rings true. And the president, as I said, is currently working with his friends in the Senate who have some recommendations for the bill. Those negotiations and discussions are continuing, but the president's ultimate priority is to get this bill back to his desk for signature. And the president's priorities in this bill are non-negotiable in terms of the tax priorities he wants to see and the large tax cuts in the border investments that are currently in this bill. He is not going to allow them to go away for the American people. Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about, has the president spoken to any of these foreign leaders about these agreements that have been reached, specifically the case of the United Kingdom that already has an agreement in place after this decision of the court in New York?
Has the president talked to foreign leaders about what?
About the court decision in New York.
Which court decision in New York?
The trade court.
Oh, the trade court decision. He did speak to the leader of Japan this morning, and he said that was a very good call and a good discussion. And as I said, the president's cabinet, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Bessent, and Ambassador Jameson Greer have all been in touch with their counterparts in countries around the world to let them know the United States will still be at the negotiating table, and we still expect countries around the world to treat us fairly. Again, I will just close by saying that how ridiculous it is that we have been ripped off, our middle class has been hollowed out, our manufacturing base has left and gone overseas, jobs have been offshored, and now no court did anything about that. No court did anything about hundreds of thousands of people being put out of work, about thousands of factories being closed down, about our deficits going to dangerous levels, as the New York Times has said. But now a court is trying to stop a president from trying to correct those wrongs of the past. And this administration will continue to do that. It's a promise the president made to the American people, and it's a promise they elected him on. We will win this battle in court, and the president will implement his America First trade policies. Thank you, everyone.
There's the U.S. Steel situation tomorrow.
I can tell you the president greatly looks forward to going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he will discuss this historic deal and discuss American jobs and American steel, and we hope to see you all there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
A decent amount of news coming out of that press briefing from Karoline Leavitt, including the president calling him the negotiator in chief as President Trump continues to work on various trade deals and peace deals. And this is a good time to put this one back up from Ronnie Jackson, the representative. Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges. That from Ronnie Jackson within the 24/7 news cycle. A great post there by Mr. Jackson. Also, cabinet leaders will continue with the Doge mission, we just learned, now that Elon has moved on, which is to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. So the cabinet leaders are taking over that position in their specific departments to reduce that fraud, waste, and abuse. So 2 items. Again, Karoline Leavitt calling the president the negotiator in chief as he works on those trade deals and also peace deals around the earth. All right, so tomorrow, of course, Rally Day in America right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It all brought to you by some great sponsors. Let's thank a few of them before we close our broadcast for the day. All Family Pharmacy is awesome. All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. We thank them for being a great sponsor. Colonial Metals Group is freegoldguide.com/RSBN, a free info kit on gold and silver. AngelPaste.com out of Spring, Texas. AngelPaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. You get a percentage off of those great products. Tax Network USA 800-357-1415. You can always settle your back taxes today. Get on that plan with Tax Network USA. Callsheet.com/RSBN. If you're looking to bet or trade on various topics out there, you can do that right at callsheet.com/RSBN. Our next sponsor is Brightcore. Brightcore.com. So all you have to do is go to mybrightcore.com/RSBN. That's Kimchi One right there on your screen. Get some percentages off. You can check it all out at mybrightcore.com/RSBN. Also mypillow.com/RSBN. You're looking at a great savings there for some beach gear. MyPillow.com has more than 2,000 products on there. So always great to support all of the companies we just talked about. And if you were trying to get all the websites that quickly, all you have to do is hit pause right now. So I'll stop. No, hit pause and then just scrub back a little bit or rewind, and you can check out the different sites. But also, of course, we were able to show you a lot of the sponsors over the past couple hours of our coverage. It was great to have them sponsor this broadcast. And also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801. Before we conclude our broadcast today, RSBN host Robert McNeely interviewed Paul Stone with Colonial Metals Group. Here's that interview, and we'll also see you tomorrow for Rally Day coverage.
We're joined by Paul Stone from Colonial Metals Group. Sir, thank you for joining us once again. I'd like to get your take on the House spending package and the bill that went into resolution and was ultimately passed. Somewhat of a surprise because it was just by that 217, 215 threshold. Shows how narrow that majority is for the Republicans.
Yeah, well, that was something to take note of. But they all voted for it except for one. You know, I'm torn. I'm a huge fan of Donald Trump. When I got to meet him at Mar-a-Lago at his first victory celebration, put together by Larry Kudlow's initiative that helped him and created some of the blueprint that got him back to a victorious situation with the White House rather than a cantankerous situation. You know, I called him Braveheart. He's fighting an enemy that's already here. Sylvester Stallone had introduced him as the second coming of George Washington, but I told Mr. President Donald Trump that Washington was fighting a visiting army and navy. And this time around, Donald Trump is fighting an enemy that's already here. And so when I see that the debt ceiling needs to raise up by $4 trillion over the next 2 years, when I don't see, and I could be wrong, maybe this was adjusted, correct me please, no taxes on tips didn't make it into this one. I think it would be a larger conversation to get no taxes on Social Security, didn't make it into this one. But, you know, whenever you're going to do tax cuts, all you're really saying is the government's going to go without money it got from you. And that's a great thing fundamentally because we want a government that has to come to us and discuss big topics, right? They can't just print money. But if these days they're not getting money that they're used to getting, they're just going to print that money. And that's why the debt ceiling has to continue to raise up. So to me, and I'll end with this on response to your question, for someone who's just going to the ground with this, taking a farmer's approach, like just the plainest approach you could take to the economic numbers and the government and the economy and wages and inflation and the cost of commodities, just the simplest approach. If they are going to continue to print money, then they haven't cut any spending. They might be spending projectedly less than they had intended to before he came to town, but they're not cutting spending. And that breaks my heart, because that's the only thing that saves the dollar and saves and continues and stops the worsening for the American family and the American individual.
And that's a good point, because the Congressional Budget Office did say with this bill, as they scored it, that it could add to the deficit. There is part of that reconciliation package did have the no tax on tips, at least a form of that. But this was something that, took kind of the last minute to get the whipped votes together in order for passage. So we'll see ultimately how President Trump addresses this when it gets to his desk. What do you think of his plans regarding the Trump Gold Card? So it's with Howard Lutnick at Commerce to re-envision the EB-5 visa, where these green cards and these worker cards would be basically sold at a price. They could be, say that you have all these countries purchasing them with how they want to propose it. It could be up to $50 trillion for the United States, according to the administration. Then in turn, we have roughly a $36 trillion debt or so. How realistic do you think that could come about in the next few months or a couple of years from now?
I think it's an interesting idea, and this is what you want. You want this kind of thinking in the White House. You want entrepreneurial, think outside the box. How does our economy flourish? What brings benefit down to the people? We want their paychecks to benefit. We don't just want the government to benefit. Reagan famously, I guess, was saying to Carter. Yeah, Carter. He said, the people, the government doesn't have an inflation people. The people do. A problem. Right? Like the government doesn't care if there's inflation. They don't care. They print money. It's the people that suffer when they do print money. And so anything that can bring revenue into the country that isn't, hurtful or harmful to the people that are already here is a great idea. My thought would be, when I first heard that, great, let's stitch on for every person that pays the 5 million or whatever it was, billion or million, that they have to bring 10 people with them, 10 great people. That they open the door for 10 folks that have to deal with a 7-year naturalization process. You understand why these people just come across the Rio Grande? They've heard that it'll take 7 years for them to actually get to live here or be a citizen here. Who can go through that process if they aren't loaded in the bank? They don't have big bank accounts. We want common, awesome people to continue to move here. It would help offset the core of our economic problem, which is 70 million people retired starting in 1997. So if you can just focus on that for a second, we never had a retirement cost of any note until 1997, 98. Then all of a sudden, for the first time in American financial history, we had a gigantic loss from the productivity side and a new cost we'd never had before, gigantic cost that worsens every year. And now the whole planet's dealing with this, and no one talks about it. There's 917 million human beings on Earth of the 8 billion that are over 70.
And to that point, that's really interesting to dive into, because President Trump has said at the CPAC conference and recently in other speeches that he wants to protect Social Security as it stands. And that's a launch from the left. You'll hear a lot of that from Democrats on the offensive, that Republicans want to dive into those funds. Are these funds sustainable ultimately? And how do we reform that and make sure that people are getting the benefits they've paid into, but also making sure we don't go bankrupt? Because even Elon Musk mentioned that during the cabinet meeting, that this is a moral issue. If the United States goes bankrupt, it's too soon, too late.
So I guess there might be a couple definitions for bankruptcy. One would be, you're technically bankrupt. To me, the difference between Bernie Madoff and the federal government is that the federal government can print money. Imagine if Bernie could have printed money and paid those redemptions, those people wanting their money out of his fund. He would have never gotten discovered for what he was doing. but he couldn't print money. So he did get caught. So was he bankrupt? Did he go bankrupt? The government went bankrupt a long time ago. And if I could, I do have a Karl Rove approved whiteboard. And I've been talking about this all week. So when we look at real GDP, and I'll be quick, in 2021, the first year without Trump, GDP is $19.4 trillion. So if America Incorporated, and you counted all of its revenue, it did 19.4. In 2024, you can see there it did 23.4 trillion. So that's 4 trillion in GDP growth. Except you printed $8.8 trillion in those 4 years. So does that look like bankruptcy to you? Because that's not a profit. The economy shrank 4.4 trillion without the printed money. And then you look at the deficit for 2020, that 3 trillion folded into the 2021 numbers. 3 trillion, just in 2020 alone. That folds into, I'm on the wrong hand here, the 19.4 million. I need more practice with this. So when we talk about bankruptcy, it's already there. It happened a long time ago. It happened in 2008, essentially, because without American printed money, we have a negative GDP for the last 17 years. So, oh my God, when do we feel this bankruptcy? When the ability to print money, when money has no more potency left in it, it's worth 2.7 cents today, the dollar. So when that potency reaches some mathematical place of half a penny, a tenth of a penny, maybe 1 penny, we don't know how long this actually lasts. And I know no one's talking about it. And you're sitting there going, how does Paul talk about this stuff like it's important when no one else who is important is talking about it? Because I don't think they're aware of it. I really don't think they're aware of it. I know Warren Buffett is saying, just keep saving $200 a month from every paycheck, and 40 years from now, you'll have a ton of money. I don't think so, because the dollar when he started doing that was worth 80 cents. And today it's worth 3. So that's the resource that allows us to communicate today, and me to put on a suit and talk and had a breakfast and a lunch today. Without the printed money, you don't have any of this. You have Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, some fantastic points there. And do you think there should be a balanced budget amendment that Congress really has to push forward in order to streamline and stop some of this printing of the money? Because even when I look at now, I'm turning 37 relatively soon. I look in my lifetime, to your point, the devaluing of our currency and the fact that it's harder to own properties or even a first home for many in my generation, between the millennials and the Gen Zers, and even some older, because it's just their own stock and savings, their assets against inflation becoming harder and harder. So how does the average person really handle this and stand up to what's going on in United States and world markets?
Offenses win when they go where the defense isn't. So if we're just going to sign up, your demographic, your age group, your generation. If you're thinking, well, I'm just going to go the way I've seen other people go. I'm gonna maybe have to go to college, so I'll take on some debt, and then I'll get that degree, which pays me more money when I get out of college than if I just went to high school, and then I'll get that payroll going, and I'll save some money, and I'll buy a house. And it can't happen. Because as the government prints, young man, it causes the cost to go higher every year. It's the government that prints the money because it doesn't have the money to pay for Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, all retiree-born costs. It doesn't have the money to pay those bills. And no one there is strong enough, long time ago, to say, hey, we need quality people to come here. When Social Security was created, there were 44 workers for a retiree. Today, there's 3. The government let all that slip. The government let all of that never get spoken about or worked on as a problem. When Reagan was president, he had the gravitas to come out and say, my fellow Americans, we need to invite good folks south of the Rio Grande to come live here. Although that might have sparked a little ire in people, and they may have been, and the politicians worried about sparking off some racism claims and all kinds of frenzy going off in America. But if they had come and said, here's the numbers, in 2025, your dollar's worth 3 cents, you have $36 trillion, and you'll have crazy presidents like Biden and Obama changing you to have your kids to have talks in elementary school about what sex they're going to be. I think everyone in America would have said, oh my God, yeah, let's talk about this. We are a country of immigrants. We need more workers. We need more people living here. We need to do it fashionably. So the government can't stop printing this money. So what if we didn't go into this gerbil wheel of financial misery and we moved to the country, maybe with our college degree, or didn't go get one, and we bought a small, tiny, meager house somewhere that we could afford it, and we actually found that happiness lived there too. Because how can you have happiness if you don't have peace? And you don't have peace if all you have is 7 days a week of stress and things that you want that you can't get, but you are the quality person to have those things, like homes and cars paid for and no credit card debt. If you're the quality person that could have all that and you can't, then that's misery. And we're not even in the top 20th happiest countries on the planet. Google the list. We're 23rd. Kuwait is happier than we are. Kuwait. So when you look at what the challenges are for you guys and those younger generations, it can only get worse, brother. It can only get worse because the government's design for approaching problems like these is to print money, which creates problems they can never solve. So long ago, when we were all dealing with life and the drought came, we dealt with it. We got through it. It ended. When the plague came, it sucked and we lost lots of friends and family, but we got through it. It was temporary. The federal government isn't temporary. And that's why life can't change. So we have to change where we go. And this is the last shot. No one is going to bring probably more momentum, logic, reason, soundness than Elon Musk and Donald Trump and his administration against this slippage of erosion of American principles and fundamentals and just financial sanity. No one's going to bring a case harder against this momentum that they've been tracking on for over 30 years against us, the Americans that live here. It's evil. So last set of numbers on this point, just to articulate. In 1971, average income in America was $9,000. And guess how much a home cost? 18 grand. Twice your average income. How easy was that? It took 2 years to save to buy a house. And guess what? Mom didn't have to go to work or stay at work if she became a mom. She could check out of the workforce and raise kids because dad's income was enough. Today, the average home price is 440 grand. And it's skewed because there's a lot of printed money in these employment payroll numbers. But average income, if you kind of account for some of that, is around $48,000 a year. So the house is almost 10x your income. And it takes on average 8 years to buy a home. And those numbers are skewed because there's a lot of, if you catch that college degree and end up in financial services, there's only a few industries left in this country, and those are usually very high paying jobs, so it skews the numbers. But if we strip that out, you might think it takes 14 years to save for a down payment to buy a home. You come out of college at 20 something, you ain't buying a home until you're 36. Wow. That's American erosion. That's where the American dream has disappeared a long time ago. Now it's just a memory. Trump working his ass off to bring that back. But those are the numbers. And numbers don't care if you're yelling from a podium. Bad math only turns into good math with a ton of good math getting mixed in. Raising the debt ceiling $4 trillion over the next 2 years is not part of good math. It's part of reality, but not good math.
Oh, no question about that. The numbers don't lie. And it's affecting every other area of life. I mean, we have people getting married later, a population decrease, especially in certain demographics. And really, you only have people, I think maybe Tucker Carlson, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, perhaps Dennis Kucinich, Mike Lee, that come to mind instantly, who are really talking about how the debt is detrimental to the future of the culture and society as a whole. And as you mentioned, thank God for President Trump, thank God for Elon Musk, who are addressing it on top of all the other issues that they're facing between Doge, facing with the multitude of executive orders and then further legislation as well, roughly within give or take 40 days in office. Now, it's just breaking news as we're talking now, but you might have caught the meeting with President Trump, President Zelensky of Ukraine, and then that press conference that did not happen. The bilateral meeting looks like it failed, at least temporarily, and Mr. Zelensky left the White House. Apparently, he was speaking to President Trump, wanting to stay for that, but sparks flew in the Oval Office, and rightfully so, as this was not going to be an easy discussion. How does the talk of gold and silver and precious commodities come into play in a situation like this for any given, individual in the United States?
Gold was $300 an ounce when the baby boomers started retiring at the turn of the century, and it's tapping on $3,000 an ounce today. So what does that say? That's just a measurement of the erosion. It continues to worsen with worldwide instability as governments everywhere struggle, fail. They fail at working with their people and their businesses and their economies to produce enough revenue to cover the costs of the country, because the whole world owes $303 trillion to itself. And so when we look at more specifically to Zelensky's behavior, his first step ought to have been, we are so grateful that we don't have to have a Russian flag flying over our capital today, and it's because of Europe and the Americans. And we'd really like this war to end and the slaughter of our brave men and women to stop. And we'd like to rebuild our apartment buildings and our power plants and our roads and stuff, schools and hospitals. Instead, he's kind of just acting like he's got it going on. He doesn't really need it. I mean, I understand Putin's the stronger, person in the room than Zelensky, right? So you gotta, I can see that Trump, perhaps, I'm just suspecting, is paying a little more airtime to that and recognizing that has to be featured and Zelensky has to be the beta and Putin kept as the alpha. And he's not liking that, but that's not going to go well. Wars and life itself is always about resources, access to resources and maintaining them. Why isn't Tom Brady throwing a football on an NFL field anymore? He lost the resource of youth. I lost the resource of hair. So when we look at how desperate all of this becomes for China, they have more homes that no one lives in than we have homes in America. I think I have that right. It's so astounding. It's hard to believe. I've read it from a few different sources. They have more empty homes that no one will live in China than we have homes in America, total. So when you just look at how the world's just breaking apart, it's fracturing as our weakness continues, our financial dominance. So I think you need gold and silver because it's not money in the dollar. You need gold and silver because it's not money in some institution you have to rely on continuing to provide you with access to your money, or a bad Microsoft update goes down and the world bugs out and you can't get on a plane or a bus or get access to your funds. I mean, who knows? The world, with more and more tech, the world becomes more and more precarious on things it doesn't fully understand or control or see warning signs of before it breaks. At least a bridge will start sending little creaky sounds to you as you drive over it, that maybe it needs some repair work done. When software goes down, boom, it's out. And this move to cryptocurrency, if someone hacks your crypto account, is there an 800 number you can call to get it back? No. What are we talking about here? You can't hack gold and silver.
Yes, some excellent points from Mr. Paul Stone, CEO of Colonial Metals Group. And the proof is in the pudding. Since 1971, if you get the free gold guide, you can get that at freegoldguide.com/RSBN. It shows you how gold has gone up over 7,000% since the end of the gold standard by the Nixon administration in 1971 until just last year. It's never dipped down significantly. It's only been an upward trend. So thank you for the common sense points, and we look forward to having you back on Right Side Broadcasting Network live very soon. Thank you to Mr. Paul Stone.
Thank you for having me. You guys are doing incredible work. God bless you all, and I appreciate your courage and all your hard work.
Likewise, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.